You quadrupled yourself. Do you currently live in Woods Cross? Don't know.
Okay, welcome to our city council meeting. We have council member Grover that is joining electronically. Is he on already? Okay, and then welcome, Jim. And then council member Jones had a school event tonight, and he's planning on being here as soon as he can get done with that. So thank you for being here. We're glad to have you in attendance. We're going to go ahead and follow through with the agenda here. We'll start off by having an invocation given by Councilmember Larrabee, and then he will lead us in the pledge.
Dear Father in heaven, we're grateful this evening to enjoy the beautiful weather that we've had these past few days and grateful for the moisture that we've received. We're thankful also for the opportunity to gather this evening to review city matters, to rejoice in the quality of life that is ours here in Woods Cross. We're grateful for the opportunity to represent ourselves here on this council, to represent those that have voiced their vote. We're grateful also for the opportunity to plan for the future for our children and our grandchildren. We ask that thy choicest blessings be upon the citizens of this community, and also that kindness and charity may prevail in all of our discussions this evening. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the audience please arise and repeat with me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Our next item on the agenda is a proclamation of declaring the month of May as Neurofibromatosis Month. So I'll turn that over to Councilmember Checketts.
Thank you. This is our 9th year, which is great, of recognizing neurofibromatosis. And I'm going to invite Miss Riley to come on up. And if you want to bring your mom or your dad or your grandma, you are welcome to. But if you will share a little bit about what you have prepared so that people know what neurofibromatosis is.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council member. My name is Riley. I am 14 years old. I'm here tonight to help bring awareness to neurofibromatosis, or NF. During NF Awareness Month, I met Miss Julie in kindergarten and have been coming to speak about NF since I was 6 years old. NF is a genetic condition that caused tumors to grow on the nerves throughout the body. It affects about 1 in every 2,000 people worldwide, and there is currently no cure. NF can cause blindness, learning challenges, pain, bone problems, and tumor in the brain and spine. For me, NF is personal. It caused brain tumor, headache, and complete blindness in my left eye. It also made school harder, sometimes because of learning challenges that come with NF. There are days when it feels unfair, frustrating, and exhausting. But NF also shaped me into who I am. Because of this journey, I've met incredible doctors, friends, advocates and other families who truly understand what this means to fight hard every day. Those people have changed my life for the better and taught me strength, accomplishment, and geniality. Tonight, I ask you to help make NF visible by spreading awareness, supporting researchers, and recognizing millions of people and families affected by this condition. And even small act of kindness can help people feel less alone, and bring us one step closer to a better treatment and someday a cure. Thank you for supporting me and others living with NF. Year after year, because of people like my family, friends, and you, I've never felt alone. Thank you for your time and helping shine a light on NF.
Well done, Riley. Well, we're excited to be able to bring this awareness and hopefully help share it with our residents. You're not the only one in our city with NF, and so it's good for people to be aware of these challenges that, you know, our youth and adults are facing. So thank you for coming and sharing, and it's our honor to have you and to be able to recognize this.
Was it as scary as it was last year? Yeah.
Well, you do such a good
You
job.
did a great job.
Yes,
So 9 years ago, you would have been 5.
she was 6 at that
6.
time. Yep.
That's how many years you've been coming. So we've just kind of watched you grow up over the years. Anyway, thanks for being
Yes.
here. You did a great job. Maybe one day you'll be one sitting up here.
Yeah. And you don't have to stay, as we've told you before.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay for as much of the meeting as, yeah.
Huh? Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you for coming.
Okay, next is our consent agenda items. Anything on there that needs to come off for more discussion?
Nope.
If not, I'm ready for a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Wally and a second from Julie. All in favor. We're going to start with Jim, who's online. Maybe. Okay, then we'll start with Wally instead. Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay.
Aye.
Oh, there's Jim. Thanks, Jim. Okay, that brings us to our public comment period. These are intended to be brief items that are not part of a public hearing, which we don't have any public hearings tonight. Intended to be, you know, kind of 3 to 5 minutes. If it needs to be something longer than that, I would ask that you get hold of our city recorder, Annette Hanson, who's online tonight, to ask that it be added to a future agenda. And I will just read our commitment to civility statement. We strive to act and speak with dignity, courtesy, and respect at all times, and would request that you would join us in that tonight. For our public comment period tonight, and this is the way that a lot of the other cities do it. We're here to listen and to take your comment, but we're not going to respond tonight. We may refer some things to staff to have them do some research on and get back to us. But we are happy to listen. We'll start with those that are here in person. If there's anyone in person that would like to make a public comment, we'll start with that. You're welcome to come to the podium and state your name just for the record, and we're happy to have you here.
Thanks. I'm Brian Bean. I am a resident of Woods Cross. I live on 2205 West, just out by Legacy Parkway. And thanks. I love democracy. I love the opportunity to interact with our elected officials. I'm here for item 6A, if it's appropriate for me to just comment on that briefly here for a moment. The stop sign request at 2260 Mountain View Boulevard. I don't know if any of you have watched the show Modern Family, but if you have, then you know that Claire Dunphy in an early season gets really riled up about a stop sign proposed for her neighborhood and tries to request it from the city council. They decline, and she gets so worked up that she challenges her city council member in an election to try and defeat him for not putting in the stop sign. And I feel a little bit like that, although I promise not to run against any of you if you don't put in a stop sign. But there's nothing that gets local people worked up like stop signs. And so I saw this on the agenda, grateful that it's here for consideration, and would just speak in favor of it. I work through this intersection multiple times every day. It's an uncontrolled intersection. Oftentimes, people speed through it. I've almost gotten in accidents multiple times at this intersection. And in some ways, I don't even really care which way traffic gets stopped. It's just a matter of knowing who has the right of way and which way should be able to pass through, which way should yield. And so my two things that I would suggest is that first, that the traffic that runs east-west through this intersection, I would request and think that would make sense that the east-west traffic should be allowed to flow unimpeded, and that the north-south traffic on Mountain View Boulevard would be held up through a stop or a yield sign. That's because the east-west traffic that's on 2260 is really what gets you in and out of the neighborhood. The north-south traffic is really just getting you within the neighborhood. And so in my perception, as I've gone through that intersection, it seems like there's more traffic running east-west to get in and out of the neighborhood. And my second request and suggestion would be that I don't really feel like a stop sign is necessarily warranted. That'd be great, but I think a yield sign would be just enough to indicate to drivers, again, which direction has the right of way and to which direction they should yield. So that's my only comment. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. You.
Speak double tonight. So I'm speaking right now in the public comments to
Sorry, will you just give us your name for the record, just so that
Tyler
on the recording?
Parkman.
Thank you.
Live in Valentine Estates community, and I'm speaking tonight in the public comments about the proposed budget increase that is skyrocketing our taxes with the state the economy is in, and the uncertainty. The residents of Woods Cross can't afford that 40, I think last council you guys said up to 46.5% increase for this new city hall. This new city hall in Hogan Park should be put on the vote for, or on the ballot to vote for residents. I don't see the need for it to be pushed through by the council. I do find it ironic that after the election of the mayor, that now you're pushing this through, not on a re-election year, but you held off the previous 2 years before that. That is concerning, as well as the skyrocketing increases of the employees' wages that compared to our city size, we are not the same as local cities around. We can't compare. I've asked for comparisons on what cities we compare our wages and other things to, and have not gotten an answer from that. So I would act that, like I said, I would like to see the City Hall and Hogan Park project be put on hold and put on the ballot for a vote for the citizens. One other thing to add, I don't know if I'm up to my 3 minutes, is I don't know what our outlook is on the agenda for the upcoming budget year. I know we have the June 2nd meeting, but I would propose the city council to have multiple meetings with the public's involvement to see what you guys are seeing, where you can skim back, what needs to be added, what can hold off. I know Bountiful City just outlined theirs today. They're having a 5 meetings for the public throughout June for them to have public hearing on, so that the citizens can get involved. I think this encourages and transparency to the citizens, as well as the council, and making sure that we are not just ramrodding things through for the sake of wanting a big, beautiful building. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here in person that would like to comment?
Dixie Weeks. I'm going to announce that I've been 6 months now not in trouble with the Woods Cross police. I said I was going to be good this year, and I've been doing a pretty good job. One of the reasons, because I've been up in Idaho most of the time. Earlier today, I was out there sitting on the porch because I came a little bit early, and the chief was very kind to come and ask me if I wanted him to let me in. That was very kind. Thank you, Chief. What I'm here for tonight is to ask if there's been any progress made on getting the lithium out of our water. As I've been here about 30 years now, the two most important things that I have seen Woods Cross do and be involved with is, of course, the police, but also our drinking water. So I'm just asking if there's been any progress on that, because as I've said all along, I would sure like to be able to drink a glass of water out of my tap. Anybody want to answer?
So we're not necessarily commenting back tonight.
Okay.
We're listening, but what we'll do is we'll refer it to Sam, and we can connect you with Sam.
Okay, I just want to let you know how important that is to me. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Dixie. Come on up.
A lot of people here today. My name is Stefan. I made a short list so I didn't forget. Here, kind of some thoughts or thoughts that I've been having. And it's from one perspective, so I understand that. But the first thing, and I know you're not commenting back, but I was here at one meeting, and this is not a direct, I'm not trying to like attack you, Julie, but I have some questions about the building, the old post office that I believe you purchased.
Nope.
You did not? All right, well, that takes it off. Because I was here and the council had to approve the sale of it, and I thought.
And I recused myself, yeah, because we had put a bid in, but no.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. I just ditto the same thing that Tyler said. Those are some of the same comments that I felt. I think the city hall needs to be pushed 6 years. I think we can save money to pay for it. Right, and I agreed. Since you've been elected uncontested this term, it seems like there's a lot of things that are boom, boom, boom. And maybe it's just because I'm getting more involved that I'm seeing more, but from my perspective, like I said, this is one side. Another thought that I had this week, I don't know everything that the city mayor or manager position does, but I feel like if we elect mayor, that should be your job to do that. No. And again, one-sided perspective, right? I don't know everything that they do, but I'm like, do we need another body in such a small city, right? And that's not an attack on you, Bryce. You're a good guy. I've talked with you. It's just a perspective of, do we need so many people for such a small city, right? I won't go into all of them because I don't have enough time, but one thing that I have noticed that I've always wanted to express is during election time, everybody puts unaffiliated with their party affiliation. I think we should change that. I think you should be putting the party that you actually support on an election ballot, right? Because we're pretty republic city. And, you know, I know of some voting that I don't agree with and could definitely see the rest of the city not agreeing with. And it leads me to wonder, are you hiding things? And which leads me to my other thought is these recordings. I asked Curtis how I could get the recording, and you have to send in a form to request it. I think it should be public on the website. I don't see why we gotta fill out a form and request to get that unless you're trying to hide something. Like it should just be on the website where we could click on it, go to the dates and see what was discussed, right? Comments, etc. So, those are a few things that I've thought. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else here in person who would like to speak during our public comment period? Okay, we'll move to those online. Is there anyone online that would like to make a comment during our public comment period? If so, you're welcome to take yourself off mute and let us know who you are, and we're happy to listen. I don't see any action on the mute buttons, so we'll go ahead and close our public comment period. thank you for your comments. We're happy to follow up with you and have some further discussion with you offline, or where we can put something on an agenda in the future also. We don't have any action items tonight. So that brings us to our discussion items. The first one there is a stop sign request at 2260 Mountain View Boulevard. So Tyler, this is an item you've requested to be on there. Come on up, and
You want me to state my name again, or good?
if you would, just for the recording of the record, thank you.
I'm Tyler Parkin. I live in Valentine Estates community. I asked that the action item be on about the stop sign at 2260 Mountain View Boulevard. I believe you guys got an email from the Bryce, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, I reviewed that Public Works memorandum and very carefully. I want to be clear from the start. I'm not asking you to ignore the MUTCD. I'm not sure how the acronym for that, the MUTCD. I'm asking that it be applied using current intersection specific data at 2260 South and Mountain View Boulevard. The memo states that a full average daily traffic study has never been conducted at this intersection. Only limited peak hours counts and speed data collected away from this intersection down the, I believe it is south down the road, have been referenced in that. The MUTCD warrant analyst relies on ADT, site distance, and intersection conflict data. Without that data being collected at this intersection itself, it is very difficult to defensively conclude that warrants are not met under certain conditions. Since the 2020 engineering review that you guys had stated in this area, a lot has changed. There has been an additional residency growth, increased park use, increased legacy trail traffic, and regular pedestrian, bicycle, and child activity. In addition to normal vehicle traffic, this intersection now regularly sees large commercial delivery trucks at a high speed, a lot during the day. I didn't realize how much until the last little while when I'm off during the day. Amazon trucks, FedEx trucks, UPS trucks, large semi trucks making wide turns there. But the rate of speed alone is very concerning. I know you can't base speed off that alone. High-speed e-bikes coming from the trail, the neighborhood and streets, off-road vehicles and side-by-sides traveling through the area, with the majority of these being underage kids operating these vehicles on a public street. Not to mention pedestrians and the children crossing or approaching the intersection. Just this last week, we had another resident, so I wasn't able to forward it to city council. They almost hit 2 e-bike kids, the same husband and wife. They were different times of day. One was right around the corner from their street. The other one was on Mountain View Boulevard. They posted it on our community page to have parents talk to their kids. I've reported it numerous times to the police department. And I know that as active calls come in, they have to push things back. But I know as of recent, with the footage that because I check my footage to see very little patrols done down there unless something's called. And even when it's called, I don't know. The enforcement is, hopefully with the new law in place, the enforcement will happen there. But these are municipal conflict types occurring at the same location. This is exactly the type of situation where MUTCD calls for engineering judgment, not just traffic volume numbers. Crash history is reactive. Traffic control is also meant to be preventative when conditions such elevate risk. I have some of these near misses on my security camera. I can provide those if needed. I also took the time to go around Woods Cross City and look at different areas. I did exclude the major areas such as 1500 South. Those are major intersections where streets come off. Obviously, those are warranted and common sense, I think. But some of these areas where I did notice, I did take pictures. I can forward them to Bryce later, but 1900 South and 1425 West, a four-way stop, 2175 South and 1425 West, a yield sign, 2200 South and 1425 West, a yield sign, 1750 South and 1200 West, another yield sign, 2100 South and 1450 West, multiple yield signs for a T in the intersection. Sorrento Drive and 1900 South, a yield sign. 1600 South and 580 West, a stop sign. 2185 South and 1950 West, both stop signs and yield signs. These locations show the engineering judgment has been used in residential settings where conditions support additional traffic control, even with strict volume thresholds may have not been required. I'm simply asking for the same consideration here, and I respectfully request that the council authorize temporary traffic countermeasures to gather current ADT and intersection data at this specific location and to consider installing whether it be yield signs or stop signs if warranted based on those updates and findings. Because in the end, it's going to be a child that gets hit. I know you may think I'm here to be a thorn in your side, but a child is going to get hit in that intersection. And I don't want to be the one that has to see that. I don't want my kids to have to see that. I don't want the neighborhood kids to have to see that. Our neighborhood is very populated with little kids. And something needs to be done, not only on my intersection there, but that Mountain View Boulevard, it's a speedway and something needs to be looked at. That's all I have.
Okay. And I mean, staff, you saw the memo that was prepared by staff. So Sam, we've never had that you know of a traffic count at that intersection.
We had a traffic study done in 2020
Okay.
in anticipation. That was right about the time I think Shamrock was approved with anticipation of Mountain View being completed. The traffic master plan last year, they didn't do daily counts. Those are the numbers in the packet I included that they only picked up rush hour, so morning and evening counts. And they give counts at each direction. They did not capture pedestrians, obviously. But a full-fledged traffic study has not been completed there since 2020.
Okay.
Remind me what you say the morning and evening. Did your packet say from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.?
Yeah, so the morning peak hours were calculated from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and the evening was 5 to 6 p.m. And that they only counted and these were numbers from the transportation master plan that were collected.
Sam, it says it's 7 a.m. on here on page 25.
Yeah, they did catch some numbers in the 7 a.m. period, but the peak time where we capture.
Yeah, the peak time would be later, but it did include a 2-hour.
So in that
span.
intersection, there was a total from 7 to 8:45, all vehicles and they did capture pedestrians in this. All vehicles was 96, heavy trucks was 28. Classification was heavy trucks were trucks with trailers or delivery trucks like FedEx or garbage trucks. And then 8 pedestrians during the morning hours. And
This is on 2260 South.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we know what time of year that was conducted?
September 18th, 2025. Sorry, 2024.
So it's just less than 2 years.
Because, one of my concerns is in the mornings we have Davis School District. I don't know that they have designated drop off and pickup areas, but just on the east side of that intersection is where the junior high kids meet for their pickup and drop off.
So it would have picked up that.
Yeah, and as well as high school.
And
Yeah, maybe because those change from year to year. We used to have one across the street from our house, and it was right next to our house, and it was down the block, and now it's around, up and around the corner. So they kind of move them around from year to year.
The school district transportation department allows their drivers to be flexible and pick up and drop off. They do identify spots at the beginning of the year, but they tend to move, and that's up to the drivers. But they pick up and drop off in the same area. And Tyler's correct. I think there was a spot identified near his home, near this intersection. But whether or not that's been how long, I can't answer without talking to the school district.
2 years ago, they used to do it, I believe, at the second roundabout. And they might still do one there as well, with the school kids increase. But I know the last 2 years it's been at that particular intersection.
So Sam, that's 96 cars in the morning. Do we have the evening? Is that the next page?
So from 4 to 5:45, it is 72 cars, 0 heavy trucks, and 4 pedestrians. Now this is just the rush hour, people leaving to go to work or go to school. It was on I think the 14th of September was a school day. I'd have to look at the calendar. And also in the evening, we won't have the school traffic, obviously it's that late, but it's people coming home and commuting to their homes and them accessing it through this intersection.
In all directions.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I think those times need to be looked at for a study. I mean, the increase of after 5:45 of people getting home, incoming traffic for, it's a private Valentine's Park, but people in the community as well as outside the community have practices there. So the influx of cars there, I know particularly on the weekends, the influx of bike riders that come down 2260 to access the southwest corner of Legacy Trail is pretty consistent.
Is that the back park?
The back
I
park,
guess
yeah.
it's called. Okay. That's a creative name, the back park.
So Ty,
Okay.
I was a little confused in this just because years ago, didn't you live up towards the east part of the subdivision?
No,
You've always been
I've
back in
always
there?
been on the corner.
Okay,
there.
for some reason I thought you were up closer to the entrance of the subdivision, but
No.
okay. What, Sam, do you know what the cost of a full daily traffic count does, or it costs?
I didn't have the time to get it in the memo, but to do a 4-way approach, and this would not include pedestrians, would be $800 to do a full account for an average daily traffic.
Well, here's the problem we're facing though, is school's out
Yeah,
Yeah.
on Friday, so.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get a.
it's mostly out already, so
Yeah, and so if we did it now, that doesn't.
that doesn't give us
That's
the
not gonna give us
the main
full,
counts.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why I would ask or request that, and I don't know that the city can do that with the liability, but with the studies that you need for the MUTCD temporary yield signs, I'm not asking for stop signs yet. But something needs to slow the traffic down there. Until you guys see fit when a proper time is to do a study.
And that's one of the options in the memo, was the install stop signs.
Or yield sign.
Yield sign.
Yield signs, sorry, yield signs.
Would the yield signs mitigate the concerns that Mr. Carr gave?
The hard part with yield signs is, and I see this even in a lot of neighborhoods throughout, is they'll slow down, but they're not required to stop.
No.
And in an unsigned 4-way intersection, it's kind of similar to if it was a 4-way stop, but it all means is you slow down, check the intersection. Whoever's first in the intersection has the right of way. Now, if there's a couple of ways we could sign the intersection. I would follow obviously the guidance and the yield section in MUTCD that is allowable in that section. We would have to look at the intersection, see which direction. We had Brian Dean mentioned putting yield signs in specific sides. That is an option, but that only slows one direction of the intersection. And as what's been talked about in the past, generally what happens is when we do a traffic calming or speed calming measure, you just move the problem down the street. And so people tend to speed up to catch up their quote unquote lost time.
Oh, for yielding.
Even for yielding.
I have I'm glad you brought that up. I work for Murray City. During the summer months, they install temporary speed bumps. Has the city looked at those?
We have, and actually some cities like West Jordan has actually went and pulled all their speed bumps out because they're even temporaries. The problem with speed bumps is the studies are that they just move the problem down the road unless you put a speed bump every 200 feet. And at that point, that's opens the city up for liability for vehicular damage. So it's back to the 3 E's in traffic sign, education, engineering, and enforcement. And part of education is also educating the public as well. I mean, even, social media shaming is the most powerful tool out there to get some people to slow down.
What we have 3 between Ivory and Valentine Estates roundabouts. Why was nothing considered between that long stretch?
As far as a roundabout,
Yeah.
that I can't answer. That was all designed prior to me coming to the city, but that's definitely a valid question. I can't answer that.
Well, and putting in a roundabout would,
I mean, obviously we can't.
that
now.
would, yeah, that would, I mean, we could, they would just pass your front door,
Right.
you
A
know.
little harder after.
UPS could throw the package just from the roundabout
Yeah.
to your front door.
They do tend to, what happens with roundabouts, and they do make small roundabouts that would be least impactful to the 4 corner neighbors. What tends to happen is the delivery trucks that people are getting their furniture or Amazon trucks or anything that big tend to just drive over the middle of the roundabout because they can't make the corner.
I'm not a fan of the small roundabouts. I've seen them.
Yeah, you'll see them. The only way that the public works side to maintain them is literally put Jersey berries in the middle of it. And if someone decides to hit it, they're going to understand that they hit something. So, but I mean, that's definitely is an option for that intersection, but there's also the capital cost.
And I think I would be incorrect if I didn't say I'm not looking to waste our taxpayers' dollars. And in the same token, but I do think something feasible for this intersection, for the residents of this community that live down there. It's a very high traffic area for us, whether you're walking at night, kids riding their bikes, but then the speed, like I said, the delivery driving is unreal during the day, not in those peak hours, but.
So are you mostly concerned about the traffic that's coming on Mountain West Boulevard? Mountain View Boulevard?
It's actually both ways.
Both ways?
It varies because if you're east and west going out of the community right there, they have a hard time. Sometimes they're not seeing the north and south traffic, but the north and south traffic is when I notice the most of people flying down because they think that road goes all the way through. Once they get to the end of the park, they turn back around or use the next street up to get back out of the neighborhood. So,
Okay.
yeah, I
You're
don't know.
going up to 2125?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
from 2260 up to 2120.
So they're going all the way down Mountain View and then curving around to exit?
Yes, they have to either turn around and come back on Mountain View or they go
Up the next street?
Yeah, up to the next street. And I haven't talked to any of the residents there. I don't, I can look into that to see, but I guess whatever is feasible without wasting taxpayer dollar.
Hey, Chief, do we know if, I mean, how big of an issue speeding is along Mountain View and 2260?
Yes, me and Tyler have talked in the past. He has complaints about speeding. We've had the ex-patrols down there. I don't have a number on the number of traffic citations we've issued. But I did pull the data for the traffic accidents. There was no traffic accidents at 2260 since 2019. And on all Mountain View, there's only 4 from 2019.
We put radar signs down there. Where are they still down there?
Yes.
We have one for southbound traffic only, and that's out at 2006 South Mountain View Boulevard. The other one,
Okay, so it's north of that a block or
Yes.
so.
we did have 2. We moved one of them over by Odyssey between the school crossing at that 4-way heading east towards Highway 89, and that's where that one currently is, because we've had complaints about people speeding between that intersection and Highway 89.
So
Not
between
Redwood.
between Redwood and the intersection by the elementary school.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we had some down
Yeah.
there. And
Do those get counts?
Yes.
They do.
I can pull counts off those in the report. I have that bar chart that shows the counts over a month period. And just for southbound traffic, it counted 6,400 vehicles southbound.
and it'll give you count for south and north.
Just south, because that's the way the radar sign is pointed.
Does it give you counts for speeding?
Yes, it gives me counts for speeding, so.
I think in that,
It's in the
That's
I think in
packet.
that chart, it showed different speeds, didn't it, that you guys have in your packet?
That was the peak time
The peak time stuff.
study.
It's also, the page before that, right after the memo, is the chart, the bar chart that
Oh,
has
okay.
blue and it's based off of vehicle speed and numbers, and the bulk of the speed is 30 miles an hour and below.
What is the speed limit there?
25.
Right.
25.
And
That's what we can.
I mean, if I look at it, and I think we probably should do a daily traffic count, but wait until school's back in the fall.
Mhm.
It doesn't make any sense to do it now and spend the money on it as school is. I mean,
Oh,
for the most part, school's
Summer.
out. A lot of kids are not going.
Your high
It's
school. and your junior high school,
certainly
yeah.
winding down, and it'll all be done by the end of the week. We could do that in the fall. That doesn't provide any change for now.
Well, we could do the,
Yield signs. Do we have any intersections in the city where we have yield signs all 4 directions?
that's typically not,
Usually just
the only time you
the
see that
north,
is
south, or
around-
east, west, right?
Yeah,
the
you,
roundabouts. There's-
roundabout's the only ones that has every leg of an intersection.
Going into it.
And that there's a whole different set of rules for roundabout enforcement in a 4-way stop, like the 4-way intersection. Typically, you only yield one direction.
I know on one of these addresses, I have to look, but it was a T. You guys have a three yield signs in the city.
And I know that there
A
are
little bit different.
intersections in the city where we have 4-way stops.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't
don't
remember
know.
if there were any where it had a yield on all 4, but yeah, certainly on a roundabout.
Yeah, the files for those, I don't know any questions on whether if it was a study done or counts. I don't have any of those files. I
well, it
did
was
find
20 years ago. I
Yes,
remember.
it was 20 years ago, and about 26 years ago is when the city actually increased the speed limit from 15 in the local neighborhoods to 25 because we were violating state code.
Because when you would go through a neighborhood, you could speed up as you went through the school crossing.
Correct.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Counter.
When we first moved in, that's how it was.
Yeah.
15, but when you got to a school zone, it was 20. So you could speed up when the kids were there. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I found the council memo and everything else.
It wasn't enforceable at 15.
No, it was not.
So,
Do we have yield signs? Do you have two?
I believe we should have 2 on our shelf that we usually keep for knockdowns. I can certainly get those installed and put them on the schedule. The other thing is I will have a good conversation with which direction that we need to be yielding so we are the most effective. And the thresholds to meet a yield sign is a lot more flexible than the stop sign.
Yeah.
I know just a neighborhood that I frequented up in Bountiful in my younger days, they had yield signs going one direction for a long time, and then they changed and they went the opposite direction.
Just making sure you're awake, I
Yeah.
guess.
But I guess my main concern with putting some up temporarily is that once you give something, it's hard to take it back. And other than that, I don't have a real big concern with putting up some yield signs to help with some calming there. I don't know, thoughts from the rest of the council?
I think it would be difficult for drivers to get used to it being one way and not another. And if we reverse that again.
Yeah. And
But you've said that the guidelines are much more flexible, so we really could keep them there indefinitely. I mean, we could, right? Because it would qualify.
Correct.
So we could put them up and just see how, let's check back in 6 months and then see if that all-day traffic study needs to be done.
You may not need to do.
We may not
a
need to
study
do it.
after,
So
before the school
the-
starts. I don't know.
The placements for yield signs is the stop sign is 6,000 vehicles a day. Yield sign's a lot lower at 2,000. But it also, the yield sign placement also gives the engineer more flexibility if it's an area that has been determined by an engineering opinion that is a dangerous intersection.
Which we've already got
Didn't you say that?
from in 2023.
400 on that counter?
In a month.
That was
But it wasn't in that intersection.
no, and that's in a month. That's a total amount of cars.
This is a per day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So-
it has to be, but in this instance, when I asked the traffic engineer about that, it would still follow MUTC guidelines to do what you're suggesting.
And does the memo from VJ on your option 3 indicate what direction he would recommend the yield signs?
It does not. That memo is, his memo is just a general guidance on yield sign application and doesn't suggest.
it didn't specifically address
Didn't
this
specifically, right.
So my opinion is obviously public safety is important. But I think that our decisions should be run somewhat by data as well. If the traffic counts at this intersection are so much below recommendation for even a yield sign, am I interpreting that correctly?
It can be, there's verbiage flexibility in the
Okay.
MUTC for that.
And there's also no issues with accidents at this intersection. Not that we can't have an accident, right? I want to be very clear that I understand one accident's too many, right? But I don't want to. I mean, I guess I want data to inform our decision. And for me, the analysis that I've seen at this point, I don't see it warranting signage on this intersection based on traffic counts and current conditions.
But the traffic count hasn't been for this intersection. You don't have it. Your traffic count was for down the road, correct?
Well, we have traffic counts for peak hours at this
Yes.
intersection.
Right. Just not the average.
The
And
whole day.
We
yeah,
don't have the average
and
daily cars.
we don't have the average daily cars,
So
but the peak hour numbers are low enough. I would assume, it's an assumption, right? I would assume that even the peak hours wouldn't hit the minimums. And I mean, the full day wouldn't hit the minimums. So I don't know. That's my thought on it. I want to be sensitive to the situation
I get
in
it.
the intersection, but I also
But your
we
peak
can
hour
put,
data.
what's that?
I mean, if you were to do a full study data, it could skew those numbers dramatically.
I'm not opposed to getting that report. I'm just saying I don't see an imminent need right now.
Yeah.
Until we have more information is kind of.
You're saying we go through the summer and then in September when school's back in session, we do a
study.
a full day.
Sure.
Yeah.
And reevaluate.
And reevaluate with that data. That'd be my opinion. And part of it too is in the summertime, traffic without school does calm down a bit. And
For
so
shifts. Yeah.
well, shifts a little bit and things. I don't know.
Full traffic.
But that's my thought. I don't see enough data right
Yeah,
now
On the
to
flip
warrant
side,
that, but
kids traffic doesn't stop down. It increases.
what's that?
But the potential of the kids traffic increases in the summer months. They're out later. So that, I mean,
The foot traffic.
the foot traffic is.
The pedestrian
it
traffic?
skyrockets. in the
And
summer
yeah,
months.
kids are out later, playing longer. They are in,
Yes.
they're in the neighborhood more than during, yeah.
I have concerns putting up a yield sign without data, because I would hate to put up a yield sign and then all of a sudden be like, ooh, we made a not a wise choice. I think our biggest bang for the buck right now is education, especially with the new changes with e-bikes and the laws that are surrounding them. I think that regardless of what step we take in the future, we do need to educate our citizens about that. We need to help those kids grow some frontal lobe awareness of what their actions are. And so, yeah, our kids need to be safe, but we also need to be very careful, because if we create a habit and we discover that that habit isn't the right direction, it could cause even greater problems in the future. And I would hate for that to happen as well.
Sam, on the yield requirements, does it, you've said that the verbiage is moldable. Does it require, I mean, we've got other sections in this city that have yield signs that probably don't have 96 cars going through the yield intersection anyway. And so what, like, without that lower, or without the data, what other mitigating issues can be plugged into the justification of a yield sign?
So the way that VJ put it in his memo, he says a yield sign should be used where a full stop is not always required. Yield signs may also be used at an intersection where a special problem exists and where engineering judgment indicates the problem may be susceptible to correction by a yield sign. That's the exact verbiage in the MTC that gives us some leeway. Otherwise, we're stuck following with the vehicle count of 2,000 vehicles a day.
So we could say that due to a park being there and the activity of this kids' sports, youth sports during spring, summer, and fall, that would be an exception or an issue within this area of the city that would justify a yield sign. Is that
Not to
correct?
mention legacy traffic, legacy.
Well, yeah,
Or
yeah.
legacy trail.
Yeah, because the Legacy Parkway does come off and go into that park.
Would the council be open to allowing VJ or traffic engineer to do an evaluation, not a full traffic study, but to take the data, evaluate that, and then give us a written response of whether he thinks that meets that criteria?
And then take into consideration those other factors, the parks, youth sports, the fact that Legacy Parkway does come off, have a trail off into that park. So, you know, people who are using it are obviously going to come through that neighborhood to access Legacy Parkway.
That would also allow the council to hang your hat on. We had this traffic engineer say, yes, it is, and which side of the intersection would be warranted for that. So
Yeah, I think
I think that would be.
if I saw a traffic engineer recommendation for a yield sign, that would definitely impact my thoughts.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable that we start with VJ doing that off of just the information we have at this time and not spending the money for full traffic counts or things of that
Yeah.
nature?
Just because of time and the fact that it's summer.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, having that there to support the gut feeling that something needs to be done
Okay.
gives us a legal space to stand on.
Yep.
And I just want to remind, a sign doesn't guarantee no accidents.
We
know.
A stop sign doesn't guarantee that people are going to stop.
So-
I've just about
Neither does a stop.
Now,
light.
just about been creamed on 1500 South and 11th West and 2600 South and 11th West.
Does it
Someone
help?
was blowing straight through.
Does it help reduce the chance? More than likely, but will it eliminate that? No, because
No.
in the end, the one thing we can't control is the driver, if they're obeying the law or not.
Yeah, so that's where an education piece, I believe, strongly should be.
And unfortunately, we don't have a big enough police department to dedicate someone to patrol, certain parts of the city. We
24/7.
have 2 people on patrol, and, we've tried to maintain keeping that within, our police department within the appropriate range based on the size of our city, different things, so.
And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Ultimately, it comes down to people taking some personal responsibility. These are the majority of these folks are the folks that live there in the neighborhood, whether it's in Valentine or in Shamrock or in
Trust me, I know.
in Mountain View, right? And I mean, it's that way in all of our neighborhoods, and it's people taking some personal responsibility to make it so that a neighborhood is safe and obeying the laws. But it's good discussion. I think this approach is a good one to have the traffic engineer look at it and give us an evaluation of where we're at right now. And then, and maybe from that, we don't need to do anything more in the fall, but maybe come fall, we still need to do a traffic study, an average daily count and look at it further.
Yeah.
Yep.
So at consensus, I'll talk to VJ, get him to give us a short memo on the
Recommendations.
placement of the yield signs. And then
And what his
And those
recommendations are,
mitigating-
whether or not he-
recommendation.
Yeah, the mitigating factors that could go into
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And then with it being the start of summer, could we put out stuff on social media that we need to be
Absolutely.
more vigilant
On
with?
social media and in our newsletter. And
Yeah.
Take care of, let's take care of our youngest.
Can we also offer parenting classes
So, okay.
to teach your kids to use an e-bike appropriately?
Well, yeah, there's that big push with e-bikes and this goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there have been a lot of accidents
And
and
it's
usually kids.
A lot of
caught.
very, very unfortunate
is.
accidents, especially with e-bikes. So,
Yeah.
but yes, I will go that way.
Wear your helmet.
And do you want me to bring that memo back to you, or do you want me to go ahead and proceed with what he recommends?
Bring back to us.
yeah,
Bring back to you.
yeah, bring it
We'd
back
like
and
to
we
know
can
what
have
it
some more
is.
discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is discussion about second driveways and hard surfaces for single family residential zones. Mr. Poole.
All right. So to kind of remind you guys, about a year ago, we had a resident come and share some concerns about parking in the neighborhood and second driveways. And so the council asked staff to do some research and to see if there's any amendments that needed to happen within code, because unfortunately the code is pretty vague on second driveways and how they are approved, with the exception of the arterial and larger roads throughout the city. So last year we took it through Planning Commission and we had several discussions with them. We brought it to the commission, but over that time frame, it expanded from just talking about second driveways to how much hard surface should be in a front yard. Should parking be allowed in front of a home? What about RV parking and gravel and all of those things? So it expanded more beyond just the second driveway. And ultimately what happened is, I think it was last September, October, the council decided, hey, we needed to go back to the commission do some additional work on this, and then bring it back. So for the last 6 months as staff, we have been doing kind of an inventory throughout the city. Leah has spent quite a bit of time reviewing some of the parking habits of our residents, and it's alarming what she's found. So through the last 6 months, there's been a lot of activity that she's noticed of parking on lawns. That's kind of an easy one to address, and that's one of the bigger code violations that she's dealing with right now. But then we also found where they've created their own second driveway, hopped the curb, or are parking in the back, have poured like a cement pad in the back, and are driving across their lawn to that cement pad, still hopping the curb to get there. And so there's all of these different scenarios that are going on, and there's really not good code language to help with the enforcement. And so where we are right now, just to kind of give you an idea of the sheer number that we're dealing with, she has about 150 open cases right now. About half of those are parking cases. And of those, they're only the low-hanging fruit, parking on the lawns, creating the second driveways without approval, hopping the curb. It doesn't get into, broken down cars and vehicles and stuff like that. So if she really wanted to increase the enforcement, it would more than double that number. So, and it's not just isolated to one part of the city, it's really spread throughout the city. So in the memo that I gave you, there were some questions that I posed that we could kind of have a discussion around. And it's really more of it is a policy decision. And at the end of the day, residents may say, well, what big of a deal is it if I have a second driveway, or if I'm parking in gravel? How does that affect the city? Yeah, if it's just one person, not a big deal, right? But if you have multiple people doing that, how does that make the city look? What is the ramifications of that, especially down the road? So some of those questions that I posed are, the first one is, what level of front yard paving and vehicle parking is appropriate within single-family residential neighborhoods? The state has said that we can't require more than 2 parking stalls, and I'm not suggesting that we increase that, but is there a threshold where we say, hey, we really can't accommodate more vehicles in a single-family neighborhood, even if they want to? And it goes to the second question as well. Should the front yards be primarily landscaped, or should additional flexibility for vehicle and trailer parking be accommodated? Should we allow parking in front of a home? So between the curb and gutter and the front door. Or should second driveways even be permitted? I mean, that was something that we took that comment from the resident, and then we just moved forward with, yeah, let's do the second driveways. But the question is, should we even allow them? So that's something to consider. What's the maximum percentage of hard surface coverage that should be allowed in a front yard? In the cities that I've worked in, they do have some kind of a threshold, and some are a little bit more strict than others. Some set it at 50. There's some that are 60% is the maximum, and we can use that as a kind of a guidepost. The other question is about gravel and hard surface. And this is one of the biggest things that Lee is dealing with right now is gravel and parking in gravel. So outside of single family zones, it's outlawed. It's not permitted in the city. So we don't permit it in commercial zones. We don't permit it in industrial zones or multifamily zones. It has to be hard surface. Either asphalt or concrete is the only thing. In single family residential zones, if it's adjacent to the driveway that leads to their garage, we do allow them to pour or not pour, but to install gravel there. But this is where the code is a little vague. It just says recreational vehicles only. What she's found is there's also vehicles that are parked there, motor vehicles. And just today she ran across one where they said, well, we're fixing up this van to make it be a recreational vehicle. And the code, when it was written, it probably didn't anticipate some of these side-by-sides being street legal. And so they become, are they really a recreational vehicle or a motor vehicle? And so, and then you got the Honda Civic down the road that is saying, well, I can park, if that van is parked there, why can't my Honda Civic be parked here? So there's a little bit of gray area there as far as the enforcement. So the question is, do we even allow gravel or road base? Or do we say, no, if you're going to park a vehicle or a trailer, it needs to be on a hard surface? Because when gravel is initially poured, yeah, it looks great. However, if you look at that same site 5 or 10 years down the road, it doesn't look so great. Gravel travels. It gets kicked out into the road. It gets kicked down into the storm drains. It starts settling. You start seeing ruts in it, and then pretty soon weeds start growing through it. And
well, there's another issue with gravel is the risk of contamination of the ground soil from the oils that may be leaking and, other chemicals that could seep into our water. Really.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I understand why we have not allowed gravel because we already are dealing with contaminated water wells and soils. And I think that we need to be responsible in protecting the water that we do have and the wells that we do have.
Yeah.
So it's more than just look, it's, is it responsible? Because there's a lot of people who have cars that leak oil or leak other fluids and they don't want to fix them. And so then we don't know what the long-term, issues are that come from that. So I can see why, that's why, I understand why gravel's really not a preferred parking because it doesn't protect the ground and the groundwater.
Exactly. And yeah, she's even run across people that are taking apart their cars in the gravel.
Right, so, the oils and different things that.
And then the last question that I put down there was just what is the long-term neighborhood character and appearance that you want to see? If you have, and I'm not a proponent of second driveways or an opponent of it. But if you drive into a neighborhood that you really like, what stands out about it? What do you like to see there? What is it that draws your attention to that neighborhood? And if you drive into a neighborhood that you're just like, I don't really like that at all. What is it that's causing that feeling, And so that's kind of how you want to think about this is this something that will add to the overall beauty and characteristic of the city, or does it detract from it? One of the purposes of writing code is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents. And, nothing gets people upset more than their property values. And where if you drive into a neighborhood of somebody that's trying to sell their home and they have people that are having their yards that are not kept up and it looks a little disheveled, it decreases their property values. And so this is something that could lead to that. So, but yeah, I just want to have this discussion with you before we take it back to the commission and start going through the process again to see what direction and really where we should be going with this.
What would enforcement look like, Curtis, for someone that has got something parked, not necessarily in violation of anything, but becomes in violation after an ordinance is passed?
So when Leah identifies it, she'll knock on the door first and just say, "Hey, here's the code. This is what is written down." Educate them, and then work with them to mitigate it or to become compliant. And I would say the majority of the people that she works with, some of them just aren't aware. And so they will bring it into compliance without any problems. Sometimes it takes a little bit more nudging where she has to send out letters and say, okay, hey, look, by this date, we need this brought into compliance, or, you know, we're going to need to escalate it. Very few cases get to a point where we're having to say, all right, we're done giving you extensions. We're done giving you warnings. We're now going to have to take it to the prosecutor, and you're going to have to explain it to a judge. But that's, you know, the worst case scenarios. But normally it's education and just helping them to become compliant.
Thank you.
What about a situation where they currently are in compliance? Like, let's say they have gravel with a recreational vehicle, and then we change the rules. How does that apply?
Good question. So yeah, with those, it would be obviously anything that's approved under a past code would be grandfathered in. So we wouldn't go and start knocking on the doors of those who have like the gravel that is installed in the RV pad that was approved at that.
By approved, you mean through the planning commission or
to the city?
Or no, just if they
approved next to the driveway currently.
Yeah. So if they have it there now, the code allows it. So we're not going to go start knocking on doors. Let's say that you decide, hey, we're not going to have gravel anymore, and say, hey, you've got to take that gravel out and put it down.
But the code doesn't necessarily allow gravel on the opposite side.
Correct.
Not next to the driveway. And there are some in the city that have done that. They've excavated, they've put gravel in, and they're parking an RV or a vehicle or something on the opposite side of the property. If the driveway's on the north side, and then you've got the front lawn, and then they've put gravel on the south side and they've jumped up over the curb and they're parking there.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow for that.
Yeah. And we have, since probably November, we've had at least 6 new driveways like that have been installed that haven't gone through the process. So
do you think it's just lack of understanding that that's something that needs to be approved by the city? I don't know that people would necessarily
think that it needs
think, you know, like, oh, I guess I probably, you know, it's an education.
Yeah, there is that. And for the past few months, we have been putting it out into the newsletter.
Yeah.
And it's going out in social media as well, just saying, hey, here's the deal. Here's the problems that we're seeing out there. And this is how you need to follow the rules.
What if someone purchased it that way? Like there's a cement pad over here, the driveway's over here, and they purchased the home that way.
Well, if it's out of compliance, regardless if they bought it or not, they need to bring it into compliance. And that's unfortunate. And we've run across that, not just with driveways, but with people that have done things to their home or on their property that was against code, sold it to somebody else, and now that new homeowner is on the hook to fix it.
It doesn't necessarily just grandfather it in because they purchased the home that way.
Yeah. And that's with anything. Yeah.
Yep.
Like even if an addition has been done without permits or different things.
So what are you looking for
So
from us tonight?
Yeah, so for the first question, it's really, what are your thoughts about gravel and road base? Do you want those anywhere in the city as far as parking, or at least in single family neighborhoods? Or are you okay with gravel and road base?
I mean, I think Julie made a good point about potential ground contamination that you can get.
Does the same
That-
thing happen with driveways and the contamination going into the storm drains regardless?
Well, it's not seeping into the soil. Yeah. Like usually when there's a leak, the cement absorbs it into the cement, you know?
It's a little bit different.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
a bit
get it
different
down
than
into
gravel.
aquifers.
yeah, it's not in the aquifer like the gravel seeps into the aquifer.
As the water, as the rain comes and it goes down the concrete and it ends up in my gutter into the storm
The
drain.
storm drain doesn't feed the aquifer. The storm
Doesn't
drain's
feed it.
treated.
Depends on what
Not
neighborhood
treated.
you're
Where
in.
does the storm drain go?
The storm,
Inform us.
the
Sam.
storm drain collects it, and then it's either
Eventually
in
it
our
goes to
city
the
goes
lake.
down to the state surplus canal, which eventually connects into Farmington Bay,
Farmington Bay.
and it's untreated the entire way.
Thoughts? I mean, I understand why people do gravel or don't do anything at all because concrete can be expensive. I get that. I also think that we have standards and should have standards that make it so that neighborhoods maintain a certain level of character and curb appeal. You know, Bryce talks about the broken window effect, right? And most of the people that have probably installed gravel driveways like that, those 6, have probably seen it somewhere else and thought, oh, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Based on cost and people just trying to get the lowest cost.
Yeah, I get that. I know there's been a lot of chatter on social media about it and about our enforcement of it. People, you know, have said, well, I've lived here for 20 years and I've always done this, and now I'm being told that I can't. And Woods Cross is turning into an HOA.
Yes.
And
But there's also a lot of people.
but
who-
there are those that are saying, I think it should be more of an HOA and we should enforce more of these things because it makes the neighborhood look better and it improves the appearance. So it's both sides of it out there.
I have no problem with gravel as long as it's well maintained.
then
I've
that
seen
comes-
weeds, I've seen
yeah.
weeds growing up in the concrete. And in a yard has a slab poured driveway and their yard isn't well maintained. So I'd much rather see well maintained before we start becoming that super HOA. But I also do want to protect the value of the properties in our community. But I also want people to feel welcome in our community. And obviously this is very divisive. And so well maintained is weeding your yard and taking care of the weeds is a much easier thing than necessarily making someone pour slab concrete.
I think I'm gonna disagree on that because then we get into babysitting gravel and going around and enforcing and people having to repay for gravel and keep it up. I think there's more weeds that pop up in gravel than really concrete. Concrete, it's more sporadic than all of a gravel area. But I do think, you know, my understanding was that they could have gravel behind a fence, not in the front yard. So I'm surprised that,
Yeah, the code just reads it's adjacent to the driveway. It
Okay.
doesn't specify whether it's behind a fence or not.
but it does specify recreational vehicles, which we need to be aware. We have families that live here and they have kids that drive. Most kids have cars now. It's not like how it was 30 years ago when you use the family car to get around. And so, they do need to have places for them to park as well. So I think we need to address that the motor versus recreation. But my feeling is, I think we need to maintain, a certain level, and like the broken windows thing, we invite certain people to come and live in our city by the way our city looks. And that includes also inviting people for crime protection as well. So
I'm hearing kind of a little no gravel, maybe yes to gravel.
So, question. Just as clarification for my understanding. Right now, what the code indicates is if there's gravel, you can only park recreational vehicles. If you had concrete on the side of your house, you can park whatever you want. Is that the differentiation?
Correct.
I think I would agree with Rachel. I think it's more of a keeping your property maintained, whether it be concrete, gravel, whatever road base you happen to have down, keeping it looking nice, no matter what you have down. So I think having gravel would be okay, with the emphasis on keeping the yard clean, weed-free, and presentable.
And when we're talking about gravel, I'm not just talking about the RV pad gravel. I'm talking even if they want to do a second driveway, are you okay with gravel there? Or
personally, I like the idea of cars all on one side of a house, driveway and adjacent, like the code states. I personally don't love full yard of gravel or or parking all over the house. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't either.
What about landscaping gravel? We're talking rocks.
Well, I don't care about landscaping. I'm talking about parking.
Yeah.
Gravel.
We're talking gravel. So
what does Jim think?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked.
What, Jim's here? Hi, Jim.
Yeah. Hi, Eric. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, so I've been listening intently, and I also recognize that on my street, we do have gravel adjacent to driveways. I'm supportive of that. I feel that, as Wally was discussing, if it can be kept well, I'm okay with modifying code to allow vehicles to park there. So going beyond recreational vehicles. However, gravel, while it is helpful and can be a budget-friendly way to be able to park cars as we have more children living at home with us, maybe even longer than we anticipated. I'm not in support of having gravel as a second driveway. I think that is a different process, and I think that a second driveway should lead to a second garage or something like that. So that's my thoughts, and that's where I'm leaning.
So more discussion maybe about second driveways, since Jim has highlighted that a little more. Eric brought it up too. Thoughts on second driveways, meaning a driveway that's not just adjacent to the driveway, to the side of the driveway that would be between the driveway and the property line, basically, but a driveway on the opposite side of the house, whether it's gravel or cement.
Slab concrete.
I don't love having another driveway. on the opposite side.
What does state code allow us to do?
What does state code allow us to do?
The state code care?
Yeah.
Yeah, state code
Yeah,
doesn't
it's-
dictate it. It would just be city code.
So as someone who does have a second driveway that came with my house because it leads to another garage behind the house. You know, I don't have two complete driveways into my backyard. So are we limiting, like, you know, this, are we saying no second driveways regardless of what's behind the house? Or are we saying no second driveways to the fence? Because I can see why we wouldn't want two driveways, you know, in a home on 0.18 acres that really has no room to build a garage behind. That I don't think, you know, I don't think that we should have parking of large recreational vehicles on the side, on both sides of the houses. My neighbor pulls his out every summer and it causes, even just on a regular slab, you know, in his driveway, it sits and it just causes, it's kind of an eyesore, but it causes visual issues when backing out and different things. But are we talking, if it's like my lot that's, you know, almost 3/4 of an acre with a large garage behind, is that?
I think that's certainly a good discussion. I think yours would be more of an exception than just with lots throughout the city. There certainly are larger lots, right?
Yeah.
That would lend to being able to have an outbuilding behind.
Right.
And that I'm not necessarily opposed to. It's the
both
when you're on a smaller lot and you know, my lot's not 1/4 of an acre, less than 1/4 of an acre. I think having a driveway that's just right there, that's not leading to a garage in the back, I think for me is harder.
Yeah.
Well, and we could tie it to lot size. I mean, we could.
Right.
As well.
Well, go ahead. Did you finish your sentence?
Well, I was going to say that we could say, you know, we could put in the ordinance that anything X and below is a single driveway, and if it's above this acreage of the lot, then you can have, you know, potentially a secondary driveway to the rear or something.
that leads to a building or
Because I mean, that's easy to do if we decide to go that direction.
Just to make sure I'm understanding though, the conversation has gone of having driveways on both sides of the property, both sides of the home. Is that your situation? You have them on both sides?
We have a half circle, so we have a driveway to our garage, and then we have a 1,000 square foot shop behind that's had a driveway since 1960.
So the way you can control that is like Eric just said, if you've got so much frontage, you can control the percentage of frontage that can have driveways of those kind of things, rather than worrying about the lot size. It's how much frontage you have. So
I mean, we could do that too. The thing with her lot is it's very deep but narrow.
Sure.
So I don't even know that it would meet the frontage requirements for a secondary drive. But
the question is what you're trying to
Obviously.
control is how much of the front yard looks like driveways, you know, all over the place. And maybe, you know, again, if you say, well, yeah, we don't want a 75-foot wide lot that maybe goes 300 feet back and to still have all this driveway on the front, you would obviously be grandfathered in, but what are you trying to control? That's really the biggest issue, because if you're like, well, yeah, it's only 75 feet wide, but you got a really deep lot, so we don't care if you have all these driveways going to the back on both sides. Have you really accomplished what you're trying to accomplish?
that's a good point.
So
I mean, yeah. This is half circle is different than a second driveway. And I don't know if we were gonna also approach that as well.
Yeah, the circular driveways, it could be part of the discussion. That was where it really derailed last year.
Yeah,
With the circular driveways. And so we don't really have a lot, well, we haven't had anybody that's approached us wanting to do a circular driveway. So I kind of wanted to divorce those two things. Let's focus on, you know, do we even want a second driveway? Do we want gravel? Do we want these things that we're really having problems with? And then we can come back later with the circular driveway, because that, with that, in the cities that I've worked, they set standards as far as what the radius looks like as far as that
Right.
circular driveway, you know, how far, what the two distances are between the two approaches. So there's more than just, and that will take a little bit more of a discussion.
Okay. So I'm hearing that we prefer one driveway with an extension adjacent to the driveway, the original garage or carport area.
Council, can I make just a quick concern on, like, or maybe some for food for thought for you guys, that Shamrock, the city has already have like 2 driveways because they have like a mother-in-law apartment that's in the front. Have you guys thought about those and how it will affect those existing homes already, where the city has already approved those plots?
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. I had seen your comment come in. I mean, ones where it's approved, those certainly would be grandfathered. This would be for future requests and for things that had not been approved.
Okay.
That would regulate those. Yeah, those home designs are
Unique.
an interesting, unique design where they have a garage on both sides or something like that. And outside of Shamrock, we really haven't had something. I mean, we have certainly areas in the community where they have an outbuilding in the back that has a garage, or, you know, something like that, an accessory building that has a garage. Yeah, but those Shamrock ones are unique. It wouldn't do anything to the existing that are approved. They would continue to be approved and grandfathered in. It just would change.
Going forward.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to make the official decision tonight, obviously, but just, you know, either thumbs up, down with gravel, second driveways, the percentage, if you're wanting to set a percentage of hardscape in the front yard, and then we'll work through with the planning commission what that looks like and bring it back to the council for a decision. But I'm kind of like this with gravel.
I mean, I think I don't mind. I mean, I'm kind of being swayed to the, if it's well maintained, it's probably okay to have gravel.
My only issue there is, how do you define well maintained?
Well, that's up to code enforcement.
And
but we would have to put some kind of teeth into it and a definition of what well maintained is, because my definition of well maintained and my neighbor's definition of well maintained may be very different.
yeah.
Subjectivity of.
So I think you have to be clear in the definition if we go with gravel that's well maintained.
I agree.
Yeah.
And when we talk about gravel, are we okay with it assuming that you want a second driveway, are we okay with it on a second driveway or on one side of the yard, or just, it doesn't matter?
No.
Personally, I'm not okay with it on a second driveway.
Mm-mm.
I don't love RVs parked in the front yard, whether it's on gravel or grass.
Or cement.
Or cement. I don't love them parked. I mean, it's one thing on the driveway itself and on that side, but for me to have stuff parked, I don't love it.
I don't like
that. That's Ryan personally. You know, if it were to be in a backyard behind a fence and obscured, for me, that's one thing, but to have it out in the front yard, I don't love that.
I mean, if we wanted to, we could designate that RVs have to be at least back behind the front of the home.
And there are some cities that have done that they have to be either behind the front line of the home or behind a fence. If they're parking it like on a second driveway.
I thought that our code had that at one time.
Yeah.
Years ago.
It may have changed.
Yeah, it may have.
I mean, because like Julie mentioned, it can be visibility issue,
Mhm.
a safety issue. If it's
Certainly.
parked too far towards the street, can't see past it when you're pulling out. Especially if
Yeah.
you're backing your car out of a driveway and the tail of your car's way back there and you can't see anything because there's an RV next to you.
Yeah, not a good situation.
No.
I think front yard should primarily function as landscaped open space in answer to question number 2.
First question.
Because that's really what a front yard is for, not parking. I think if we allow gravel on a second driveway, then where do we stop it becoming the whole front yard? Is a
Well,
thing park.
I'm okay with xeriscaping and gravel, decorative gravel in a front yard. I just don't want.
Xeriscape, not zero.
That's what I said.
There's zeros.
There's both.
Xeriscaping. That's what I said.
The most I
And
think here 0, which means I can put rocks along my entire front yard and
well, you can, but and it's a question of taste about how it's done. It's for me, it's an issue of parking on it.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't want, yeah.
Yeah.
To Rachel's comment earlier, well, what if somebody wants to have landscaping for gravel in their front yard? And yes, there are landscaping types that can have that. But do we
It's
want to
the
see
parking on it.
somebody's truck parked in the front
No.
yard on grass or in gravel? And that's
No.
really where the code enforcement
Yeah.
issue can be measured more.
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen is people putting down gravel in xeriscape or whatever, and
And
I'll
that's
just park
parking.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
There's
again, it's
several.
not a personal question because people park on their grass too.
Yeah.
Oh. What about Jim's thought about cars parking on gravel versus recreational vehicles? Just opening that up to anybody, anything parking on that gravel.
My mother-in-law and her home had a nice pad off to this pea gravel spot where visitors could park, and it looked quite lovely. So I think, and it worked well, and it was affordable for her.
Might save code enforcement a little headache, differentiating between the different types of
It might.
vehicle.
What about, well, do we need to discuss gravel size? Because like pea gravel getting into the storm drain and the issues that might cause.
Yeah, there is a concern, what we call track off with gravel, like it's stuck in
Mhm.
tires and that goes into the road and then that
Mhm.
goes into the storm
And then
drain.
it goes into your windshield.
Yes.
Yeah. Gravel's just a pain, so I'm not a fan.
Okay, so allowing gravel overall for next to the driveway for the parking area that where RVs are allowed to park right now, recreational vehicles. Yes or no?
With RVs parked there, or are we gonna put
Just
RVs
with
behind?
with that parking area.
Just the idea of gravel.
Mm-hmm. So that we can give some direction.
Yes.
Yes.
I can bet yes on that.
Yeah.
I'm the no, so there you go.
Okay.
We don't have unanimous. That's
If we're going to
We don't
allow
have
that, I
unanimous,
think
that's
we
the
have to
majority.
define well-maintained.
Mhm.
In my view, part of being well-maintained would be that you're able to contain it somehow, that it's got borders, that it can't just be gravel then into dirt, so that you can keep it I mean, it's hard to keep gravel in an area because it is going to track out on the sidewalk or the driveway or the street. But hopefully if you've got some borders there, it'll help hold it into place. And then I think we need to come up with a definition of well-maintained.
Mhm.
So that Leah has something to use as a measuring stick of what is well-maintained.
Can we just start with a percentage of vegetation? I mean, if we've got vegetation growing up through gravel, then it doesn't look like well maintained. And again, is that
0%?
no vegetation growing up through the gravel? Because you can control that with weed control and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think 0% is a
can.
good number.
Yeah. So
Zero is enforceable.
is that
Yeah.
something?
She does that right now,
Yeah.
but
Do we want to define the size of the gravel, the type of gravel?
Oh.
I think we also need to define the
Don't-
depth of the gravel, because if you've got, I mean, over time, it's gonna be pressed into the dirt and it's gonna become dirt, mud, and some gravel, because gravel.
And we can work.
That's part of the well-maintained.
Yeah, and that's something that we can work through with the planning commission, getting, specifics to bring back and say, okay, what do you guys think about this? So, yes.
Okay. Allowing vehicles other than recreational vehicles to park over there.
I think it's okay.
Yes.
We've got
I think it's
kids with cars that need.
Especially
parking,
with
and I'd rather
no street
them,
winter.
yeah, I'd rather them
Yeah.
park on, in their driveway than on the street.
Well, and I mean, they can't park on the street in the winter months, so I gotta give them
You
some
can, you
degree.
just get
I mean, I
ticketed.
think if we're allowing a recreational vehicle to park on it, I think you should be able to park a
A motor
Yeah,
vehicle.
motor vehicle on it. Okay,
Second driveways with
driveways.
gravel.
No.
No,
I would say no.
no.
Parking on the lawn, I would say no.
Yeah, we can do that. Just second driveways in general. I've heard that you want it to lead to a garage. You want it to be behind a fence. And you don't have to make the decision.
I don't
but
mind
we-
the idea of the
I think it
width
could
of the
be,
property.
yeah,
Parking.
or it could be exceptions made, by the planning commission or something, as far as if it leads to a shop or somewhere behind, not just.
I mean, that's kind of hard.
Yeah,
because I could build a shop behind my house and put a drive in and
With the frontage is a hard one though. I mean, because you do have properties along 800 West that the frontage, I can think of a couple of them where the frontage is not very wide, but I mean, they have forever behind the house.
Mhm.
And I mean, an acre or 2 acres behind the house. And so I don't know. I would love to have some kind of parameters that would be easy to enforce and be easy to say yes or no. I just worry that with width, you may have some where you're saying no, you can't use any of that behind there other than just for a backyard because you're not wide enough. And yet they may be able to build an accessory building that's bigger than their home back there because they have space.
Like a flag lot.
Oh, right. I mean, a flag lot. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my concern with that.
Maybe
but-
we just put in the acreage size.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what you're more concerned with, having 2 driveways, even on a narrow lot, or that someone is using that front setback section of a driveway for cars? Are you not wanting to see the front yard full of a bunch of cars on both sides of the house? Because again, if the code says you can have the driveway, you just can't park on it because we don't want to see cars lined up across the front of the house.
Yeah,
That's a
could be
totally
one way
different
to-
thing. And that's kind of easier for Leah to
Enforce.
do code enforcement of, hey, you can have the driveway back there, but you just can't park in it. So
Well,
what are you
all-
trying to control?
all of those lots do have the single drive that goes past the house on the one side. And it's
Most of them have it on the one side.
I don't see any that don't. I mean, one has it on both sides, but
Right.
they have access on the one side too.
Yeah.
So I don't think that specific case is really an issue.
But I think
But-
maybe what Bryce suggested of saying, well, you can't park on the other one and use it as a parking area. It's an access to get to the back, not a parking area. That could be a solution.
I do know some people who use those for that winter parking, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
And those are, if you're okay with the second driveway, we can work with the language on, either not using that, the second driveway in front of the home as a parking space. We can work through that language and make sure that, especially the big RVs are parked behind the home or behind a fence or something like that on the second driveway.
I mean, I think
But-
I'd still prefer single driveway.
A single driveway?
Yeah, I don't see any, because that's a very specific case in the city. And I don't see any in those, on those lots where that would even be an issue. And so I just don't see a need to allow second drive in the city. Personally.
Other thoughts? Any other thoughts on that?
I'm unsure.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, if we're gonna allow it, then
What's the
point? What, yeah, people should be able to park. Maybe, I don't know, unless we. Yeah, that one's hard, because.
And maybe the solution is we say, well, you can't cover more than a percentage of the front in hard surface. And that could limit it, or you can't park in front of the house on that other driveway. I mean, you know, nothing in the front yard. It's got to be behind the front of the house.
Yeah, there's ways that you can mitigate that, both with street frontage, with distance between driveways, with the amount of hard surface. Those are all things that we can work through. But if you're okay with the second driveway, we can look to mitigate it if you're worried about people using it in a way that they shouldn't be, or that you don't want them to use it if you don't want them parking there. But yeah, we can bring language back to you guys.
But I think the consensus was no on gravel for the second.
Yeah, no on gravel, but you're okay with the second driveway as long as it's mitigated, that we're not parking on both sides in the front yard.
I'm getting noise from that. That was contemplative noise.
So I'm gonna go talk about my house. I have a north driveway that goes down. So really, when you drive by, many people don't even realize it's there because it's
right, because
well landscaped and it changes. So by saying no, I couldn't have someone park there, leaves, I do have, a 2-car. I have a third spot for Ashland. Well, let's say when Brock's ready to drive, then he wouldn't be able to park down that north driveway, even though it's down below the level of my driveway.
Yeah, but the question is are we talking in the front yard setback, or are we saying as long as it's behind the house, then it's
But
not?
it wouldn't be behind the house. It would be because the house is set back too far for mine. And we have a fence. So he would park in front of the fence.
Yeah.
But it would be down where you can't see it because that's what we don't want 3 cars on this driveway, but maybe 1. But I don't know. But then we have a half circle that
sometimes you need
try
3
not to
cars
have
on that
parked.
driveway. When kids
Yeah.
come
Just
to visit.
remember that you're trying to give your code enforcement officer
They could
something that they
park
can
on-
say, here's how we're measuring it, and you're either you make it or you don't make it. And people may do it right for a while, and then somebody buys the house and they do it wrong. And so again, it's challenging.
What do we want to enforce is the question, right?
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to is
What do we want
is
to
this
enforce?
important enough you want to have enforcement? My last offer to help Bill Curtis out is we could just send him out to do some investigation in codes of other cities, come back with some other recommendations that you could see how other cities have proposed handling it, and then you might be able to see how certain
Craft
language,
something from that.
well, or just see how other cities are regulating it, and it might just help.
If it's enforceable.
Yeah, give you a vision of what's already out there.
You ready for a field trip?
Well, or just do the
Yeah.
AI
Thank
review
you.
or view
Online
of,
field trip.
He's ready for a virtual field trip with
Yeah.
Google.
That's right.
yeah.
Do you want this to come back to you before we take it to Planning Commission and start discussing it with them, or?
I'm not sure we've really given them clear
anything.
instructions.
Yeah, I'm not.
So yeah, have it come back to us
Yeah.
and see if we can't clear things up a little bit before we give them.
Yeah, we don't even know what we think yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Good luck. Okay. 6C, UDOT landscape plan for the I-15 reconstruction project. Bryce.
Mayor, would you be accepting of swapping C and D? We have Kyron
Sure.
Gibb who's on
Absolutely.
with us, and she's on virtually, and that might allow her to do some other things.
Let's go with D first.
Thank you. So we've invited Kyron Gibb from Y2 Analytics to join us tonight. I emailed you before the meeting started the list of questions that they've put a draft together. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that at all at this point in time. I think it got emailed to me about 3:30 this afternoon, but Kyron just wanted to kind of review things with you, describe the interview process or the questionnaire process, and see if we're heading in the right direction. So Kyron, are you available to?
Yep, absolutely. And I'm not sure if I have permission to share my screen.
Maybe if you ask really nice.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Great. So I'm happy to just sort of run through the questionnaire draft at a high level here. I think we can talk through the overall flow of the survey and just make sure that we haven't missed any mission critical pieces here as we're thinking about what the council is hoping to learn from residents' perspective and what additional information we can provide as we're looking at, this project that has already received a lot of resident input and has been in the works for a long time. We're hoping to present this in a way that, again, both provides valuable data to the city and maybe helps us understand how best to communicate about this project to residents. So to that end, and I'm just going to go through really quickly, and then we can talk through things after we've gone over the whole document. We have a few introductory questions looking at overall quality of life in the city, sort of health of the city generally. We have some general questions about potential issues that residents see facing the city, things that are of a high priority to them generally. Looking at some city service ratings really quickly, and we'll want to make sure that we're getting a little bit more granular with these and discussing those city services or naming them in a way that residents will recognize and be able to evaluate in a way that's helpful to the city here as well. A follow-up question just to see if we have any specific feedback from residents about various city services. Some sense of residents' frequency of park use and how often or how familiar they are with the existing City Hall building. Quick evaluation of communication from the city and what channels residents are using most frequently. And then we do start to get into more granular look at potential improvements or investments in the community, new facilities, things that residents might see as important or not for the city to prioritize and invest in moving forward. We have a quick budget allocation question here, looking at if residents were interested in seeing the city invest in various capital improvements, where those priority areas are. And then
Kyrie, can I
Yes.
interrupt you real quick?
Yep, go ahead.
On the new community room, could you change that from just senior gatherings to community gatherings or something?
Yep.
Not just for gatherings and events.
Yep, we can do that. No problem at all.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
We do know that at one of our recent meetings, as we had some senior citizens sitting with us and talking with them and saying, well, do you like the senior lunch bunch at the Public Works building, or would you prefer it here? It was interesting. They said, oh, we'd rather have it at City Hall.
Right.
Oh, well, okay, we would need a bigger space to do that. Oh, you're right, we would. So while I agree, we want to have that expanded, would it be worth?
Senior gatherings, community gatherings, and events or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
again,
I think
Go ahead.
I think for the purposes of this question, we can keep it quite broad. We'll get more specific with the types of events that can be held in the community spaces and more of the intent behind those spaces as we get more specific about the project as a whole. So we present a brief introduction to residents here with that site plan concept, looking at the potential redesigned park, the proposed city hall and community center, the layout here, just a quick description to residents as sort of the rationale for the project. We're asking residents how much they've heard, if anything, about building a new city hall or community center and redesigning Hogan Park. And then we get into a little bit of the financial impact before we ask residents about their initial levels of support or opposition to that project. We want to make sure, especially where we're looking at that tax rate increase, that residents have some concept of how this is going to impact them moving forward. If we don't present this, frankly, we're not getting reliable data because we have to be able to show that trade-off or that investment that we're asking for from the community. And then a quick open-ended set of questions here. So for folks who support the project, what is the most compelling reason? Or if they're opposed, what is it that stands out that is a barrier there for them? And then we get into some of the message testing where, again, we're getting more specific about the intent behind the project, looking at first the difference between refurbishing and sort of retrofitting the existing facilities to try and bring things up to code and the additional investment that would be required there. The steps that the city has taken to or would take to offset the cost of construction for a new city hall, looking at a description of the current conditions of our police department's offices and how a new city hall building could impact them and those working conditions. And then again, diving into the intent of that community room, having a gathering space for various events, and then also thinking about the new amenities or opportunities in a redesigned park. Again, sort of a wide range of potential celebrations, events, gatherings, just to really drive home that the idea here is that this is a space for the community. And then just a quick description of some of the process that the city has undergone as you've been thinking through this project and that level of involvement from residents as we're, designing a space that is really ideally providing value added to the community. So after running through those pieces of rationale or explanation, additional context, we want to follow up with residents again and ask whether their level of support or opposition has changed. And that'll allow us to do some interesting analysis from a statistical perspective to see if there are specific messages that are really driving support or opposition, if there are things that stand out there for residents, what the compelling pieces of information are, so that again, we have an opportunity to communicate with residents about this project in a way that is as effective as possible. And then getting a quick sense of what the overall priorities are when residents are thinking about a new city hall and community center, redesigned park. What are the things that are the most important to them as the city considers moving forward with this construction project, this investment, this undertaking? Where are residents' highest priorities there? And then just an opportunity for residents to provide us with any final thoughts or comments they have about the project. And then the end of the survey is just a quick set of demographic questions where we're going to make sure that we're getting a good representative sample of residents in the city as a whole. So again, very quick sort of whirlwind overview there, but any initial questions about the flow of the survey or anything that is a high priority for all of you to hear from residents that feels absent?
I have a couple of things. You have on the City Hall and Hogan Park project block, you have it listed as the City Hall was built in 1986. It's actually, when was the first part built?
It was right around
59?
60 in the 60s.
Yeah,
So-
so we need to say was built in
in the
19
mid-60s and had
60s,
additions
An
on.
addition in 1986 and another addition in 2000, or was it 2002?
On the plaque.
Or, yeah, so
I mean, there were multiple different.
there were three different,
Right.
yeah. So we've kind of tacked on to this building 3 times.
Yep.
And then we've been meeting with residents for the past couple years discussing this city hall, not the past few months.
2020.
2003.
23.
2003 is when
2003 was the last, yeah, I thought it was
Addition.
2000 to,
That's when
yeah.
the multipurpose room was.
Multipurpose was 2003.
1968 was the first.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then we've been discussing since 23. 23.
And that, yeah, we've been discussing with residents since 2023.
Okay, great.
And then I'd also like you to add that this would serve as our emergency response center. I didn't see that listed in one of the, like, the use of the building, the reason why, you know, that we need to have a
Improved
place
seismic.
for if there were a natural disaster to be able to continue having the city function.
Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah, emergency operations, not response.
Okay. Anything else that stands out to folks?
Kyrene, I also noticed as you were talking about the current facility for police officers, the way the sentence is written kind of gave the impression that maybe all the police officers were working in the basement. It's some of our police officers, where our sergeants are, it's where our evidence is. So yeah, it's not the entire police
portion.
department, but a portion of the police department. Maybe just add that word portion. And if I can just add that question that Kyrene had of that $100, as I've seen that question used in other cities, it's really interesting to see how people view that. It gives you instead of saying, what percentage do you like? They equate it to $1, and it's fun to see how those answers come out because, you know, $100 means something to somebody. So
Which question was that?
That right there. Imagine you were given $100.
Keep up with me.
Our budget.
maybe $100 isn't as much as it
Right
used to
there.
be, but
Yeah, should that be $1,000 instead
Yeah.
of $100?
Yeah, and really this question is designed to both ask residents to allocate limited resources. If we're looking at, you know, we can't invest in everything. If residents are given the opportunity to, you know, at least pretend to put their money where their mouth is, where do they end up allocating those resources? And, you know, looking at this potential list of improved amenities or investments, and we can certainly workshop this to make sure it makes sense for the context here. But just getting a sense of, yeah, what do residents really value and what is the implied ranking of priorities or potential investments there? There is a lot of opportunity to glean some good data here.
And then if you go back down a couple of pages to where you made one of those last comments, keep going. Keep going. Right there, a space for every resident. Let's see. There will also be outdoor gathering areas. I think we should say there will also be indoor and outdoor gathering areas that can host weddings, celebrations, and community events. We've kind of highlighted city events in the indoor space just above that with City Hall, but really, I mean, the idea of that community room is that it can be used for all kinds of things. It can be used for a wedding reception, a big birthday party, a meeting of, I mean, all kinds of things like that. But if we could do indoor and outdoor gathering spaces that could host weddings, celebrations, community events.
I'd also like you to add our Memorial Day, because that's a big celebration. And do we want to add Easter and pumpkins in the park?
thought we had it.
We
Scott.
didn't list all of the events in this particular question, but we can certainly look at, how much those different events have in terms of participation and traction and see which ones are
I mean, Memorial Day is certainly the
compelling there,
largest.
but yeah, we can add the Memorial Day one in for sure.
What's that? Oh, some of the titles are not. Yeah.
So we need to update. So Lacey, can we have you email her the correct verbiage for? Yeah. I can forward this to you. Oh, you have the questions? Okay.
While we want details, we also need to remember that people don't read. They don't want to read. So it also needs to be quick, fast, and easy.
Yeah, which is why I think if we really want to focus on all of the different events that the city will be hosting here, we might want to split these things out and look at, this is a great space for the community to gather for these events. And then separately, there will be event spaces and gathering areas for residents to use for private events and, making sure that this is something that is accessible to the community as a whole. So we'll workshop that. I think this is already getting a little wordy, so we'll want to break that out, I think.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Again, as we've done in our truth and taxation, 46.5% sounds like a big number. We've also related that to
there's a spot that talks about $180.
Yep. And so we just want to make sure you're still okay with that, as we have used that information in the past and from the data that we have. So
yeah. I am. Everybody else good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't need to look at.
And how is this going to be distributed?
Yeah, so primarily we're going to be fielding this survey online. We'll be reaching out to residents through email or text messages, depending on what contact information we have available through the resident utilities database. And then we can also supplement that utilities contact information with purchased addresses and phone numbers where available for multi-unit residents primarily, where we're looking at folks who might not have their own utilities account if they're living in an apartment building or a building that's managed by a landlord. We'll supplement that database and reached out to folks again via email or text message to participate in the survey online.
Is there a way to do like a QR code on the newsletter or something like that?
So because we are relying on random sampling here, we actually don't want to make the survey that widely available initially. The random sampling process is what gives us an opportunity to ensure that we're being representative of the city as a whole. Statistically, we need that random selection so that everyone has an equal chance of being sampled to take the survey. We can certainly provide a QR code if it's helpful to have this sort of as an open access version of the survey available to residents after we've completed that scientific data collection period. But we would not recommend doing that at the same time as we're sending out specific invitations.
Okay. I know nothing about statistics, so that's fine.
No worries. That's the part of any presentation I give where folks' eyes glaze over. I understand.
But we've also seen that when Lacey's done surveys for certain things that we just put it out there for everybody. And we get folks, but if we take it to Senior Lunch Bunch and we hand it out to those people and say, hurry and fill this out. Well, now we've skewed that to a certain group of demographic.
Yeah, I guess I don't mind it. I don't know what you guys think about having it after your session's done, having it available and getting feedback via the survey through whoever would like to give it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Greater voice.
Yep.
I'd also like, if we'd like to get a good number of people responding. So if you have to invite more because the first round wasn't responsive, is that something you'll do?
Yeah, so typically we will send an initial round of invitations, read our response rates from there, determine whether we need to send out invitations to an additional sample or just send out reminders. So we usually send 2 to 3 reminders before the survey fielding period is closed, just to make sure we're following up with residents who might be less inclined to participate initially. Again, that sort of random sampling process is important there, and we want to do as much as we can to encourage participation from that group of residents that's randomly selected. But certainly if we're not getting a high enough response rate from that initial sample, we can go back to the city as a whole.
Irene, I don't know whether or not you have time to get this out before Memorial Day, but we had talked about that if we did, and I think the council had said you would be okay that for those who received the invitation and chose to participate before Memorial Day, that they could somehow bring something to say, we participated and I'm here to get my free breakfast. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
And
but
Kyrene,
it's
is that still
Monday.
something that,
That's Monday, so.
yeah, it would have to be ready to go out soon. So have
It's
we
if
met
it's a
that?
mail postcard.
Yeah.
Well, but emails too. We've
Oh.
given all of
Emails and phone
our
texts.
utility data.
Emails anymore. It's like.
Oh, is that
junk
possible,
mail.
Kyrene, or not?
Yeah, I think that depends on when we get the questionnaire finalized. So I can take the feedback that we get or that we've received this evening and turn around a revised draft for further review tomorrow. I will say once we get past Thursday, we're unlikely to get a lot of folks responding during that Memorial Day weekend window. But if we're offering them a breakfast coupon or something along those lines, then maybe we get a little bit more traction heading into the weekend. I would expect, though, that most of our responses will come after that Memorial Day event. Happy to accommodate, though, assuming we get all of the wording here smoothed over and are able to get initial invitations out to residents by Thursday.
Let's see, Lacey.
In the city.
We on the what?
Telephone numbers?
Oh,
Text my God.
so I don't know if you heard that, Kyrene. Lacey saying that we have all of the text MyGov numbers. We own those phone numbers that Lacey has. So that's in addition to utilities. So let's get you in touch with them. And if it looks like we're not going to get those questions out in time, let's not frustrate people by, them opening an email and go, well, thanks a lot. You offered me this. And, I
Yeah.
didn't get it in time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'd get more response from a text, like text my gov or something than we would.
My question for those phone numbers that are available, do we have that attached to residential addresses?
Lacey's inferring, yes, we do. So
Okay,
let's
great.
get Lacey communicating with you on that as one more source and see how you.
We
can use that.
we don't have it for all residents. We just have it for those that have signed up.
That have
No,
opted in.
we have it for all.
As long as we have a household
have
address
all of it.
associated with any of the contact information we receive, we can include that in our sampling frame. The big thing here is we are using address-based sampling to make sure that we're getting good geographic coverage and as a result, good demographic coverage of the city as a whole.
Okay.
So
It's not.
Versus all of the things, all the areas through text my gov and there. It's one of part of the service that we pay through them.
Okay.
Lacey has more info for you, so we'll let you chat with her.
and decide if it'll
Yeah.
happen. We've also, Mayor, had some questions that have been typed in during the thing. The question one was, will this be going to all residents in the mail? And the answer is no, as we've talked about, that it'll be a representative portion. Another citizen asked if they could be one to get it. Again, we have to let Y2 do their job of deciding how this is done so it's representative of all community members. Question about can this be sent the utility bill, newsletters? Again, with the time frame, we might could say, hey, some of you may be getting a survey and we hope that you will respond to it because we'll be writing that letter and that'll be going out at the first of the month. But we just have to be careful, like we don't at this point in time give a QR code that, hey, everybody come do it. We'll do that after we get the
But
survey.
so really, you may get it, but eventually we're hoping to open it up to the whole city. Yeah,
Sounds like
so
we can do that. Yep.
we don't know, it's a random selection, but know that yes, eventually this will come to you, whether you're in the first round or the second round.
We'll open the door for more citizen participation.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's
And we can provide some boilerplate language around both survey promotion for that scientific random sample period and when we open it up to the community as a whole for additional input.
Okay. And then Kyrene, is it typical to use a city logo on it so that it looks familiar to people? And are we all okay with giving her that logo so that when folks see it? Is that Kyrene okay?
That is incredibly helpful. If the city is willing to, yeah, let us use the logo and just formally endorse the survey, we'll want to put a little blurb on social media or something like that so that as few residents as possible are worried that we're trying to scam them. Yeah.
That's where Lacey's going to come in because she will have the logo and she has the social media and all those kind of things. She'll be the one reviewing, and we'll just ask her to do that quickly, get you the event names correctly so people recognize them and the information on text.my.gov.
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah. I'll look forward to connecting with Lacey after the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thanks for your time, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, back to item 6C, UDOT landscape plan for the I-15 reconstruction project.
So this has no controversy whatsoever. Mike Romero asked if we could have you review this. A few months ago, we brought this to you before and said, here's kind of where I-15 reconstruction project's at. And we went back to them and said, no, we've put a lot of money into creating really nice looking intersections. And so we would like to have that perpetuated. Please remember that we're also trying to balance that with reducing ornamental grasses. Mm-hmm. So they are indicating that the plans that they've got here would be installed by UDOT at no additional cost to the city, trying to use the past investments to give comparable types of landscaping. There's a lot of stamped concrete and some things of that nature, but cutting down on ornamental sods. So Mike Romero just asked, how does the council feel about it? And Kent is taking it to the North Salt Lake Council for input also. So thoughts?
Okay, so what are we comparing?
Well,
are we okay with the layout or what do you?
Yeah, if you look at the drawing that Sam's got on here, and maybe Sam, you can scroll down. I tried.
Which
this may be
are we
pathetic.
facing? Like,
so this is facing, the top is north.
Okay.
And this is 2600. The gas station is in that white space where the cursor is. Yep, that's Molson's. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
And so they cut 2600 in half. And so what they're trying to do is to provide this landscape and planting areas in the off ramps and on ramps that come around.
We're not going up and over and wrapping around 2600 anymore?
It's the up and over.
Oh, that one. Okay.
And then it goes and comes back around here.
Yep. So yes, there will be the overpass.
So what's
and
this?
So the
the
large green area that you see is that is the, what does that say, Sam? The 4 is
Decorative rock, type 3.
Type 3.
Yeah. So again, we're cutting down on the amount of vegetation that we have to water. There's also on the far left, Sam, maybe put your cursor over this right here. This is the new entrance into the petroleum. Thomas Petroleum. And then down on the lower left, there's another hook coming around pointing to the east. That's another entrance into Thomas Petroleum because as 800 West goes up and over, it will not have a grade connection to them where it currently exists. So thoughts?
Is it going to look nice? That's really.
Well,
vegetation seems really nice.
Just seems like a lot of
ornamental rock
or decorative rock.
Yeah, it's a lot of rock. Isn't that very common right now with a lot of their redone?
It's either
tracks?
the decorative rock or it's the natural vegetation grasses that's not really sexy either. It's just kind of green in the spring and brown in the fall. But
Well, then it has a decorative rock that turns into the natural grasses.
Yes.
it can do that too. And then we have to remember that once they hand this over to us,
Yeah, right.
So
our crews maintain it.
maintain.
Yeah, we maintain.
Yeah, we'll maintain all of the landscape improvements.
Can we just put turf in?
That will look even better.
The wrong year to ask that question.
No, I mean like the
AstroTurf?
AstroTurf, not
Oh.
real grass. Just put the AstroTurf
Well, that works
in.
out too. That is-
Yeah. As I've looked at it, and
Yeah, I
if
think
Sam will scroll down, let's just look on the south side, which is the North Salt Lake side of the intersection. This has that walking path that goes through there. And so,
That is the dumbest thing.
well, it's to try to help pedestrians. And then I tried to overlay the new landscape plan, Sam, if you go one more slide down, over top of the current vegetation. I don't know if that worked out really well, but it was trying to just show how it,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
you kind of see how the new, it obviously cuts down on the amount of landscape where the current off-ramp curves around to 800 West, because that's all going to have an off-ramp cutting right through the middle of it. And again, it's taking out a lot of ornamental vegetation or ornamental grasses. But it is what it is. Oh, the other thing to remember is that 800 West going southbound will start to go up. So you're not going to really see grass around you because you're going to vertically start to climb to go over the road. So be careful that you're not thinking, well, there's no grass around there. Well, you're not going to see it anyway. You're going to just see sky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah, and Mayor, I would like you to strongly encourage our neighbors to the north and east to do something with Fifth South, because I was disappointed to see that they've opted to,
They just wanted plain vanilla.
well, they just don't want to do anything.
They don't want any water in there. They don't want any power in there. They just
It's
said,
just gravel.
no, I don't know
I don't even know if
exactly
they're
what
going to
they're
do,
proposing.
it's going to be just weeds. like it
Baseline
is.
UDOT
Oh, the
vegetation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
The bait.
sure. Potential wildfire bait is what they're going to plant. Dead weeds. Dry grass.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll end up giving them something around the corners or not, but they've pretty much said we just don't want to spend staff time going out and maintaining. I
Yeah.
tried to give you in fact, I may have, if you go down the new interchange in North Salt Lake, and I wanted to try to give you a bigger picture of it, but in the environmental survey and everything, it was so chopped up, I couldn't really give you a way to do it. But remember that 215 will now connect in to I-15. And so that's really going to help. And people can come from North Salt Lake going southbound, get onto 215. So it should be taking a lot of the traffic that comes to 2600 South and moving more of it to that south end of North Salt Lake. So that should
On Center Street?
no,
Or-
Center
This
Street's
is
going to be
south-
cut off.
This is south of Center Street. This is where I-215 comes in right now.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So they'll have an
That's
exit.
By
Or
Chevron.
over by where the gravel pit and that stuff
The end
is.
of the refinery down there.
Yeah,
the
right
south
there
end
by
of the
Chevron.
refinery.
Okay.
Mhm.
We're gonna go over and connect into I-15 right there.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
215 comes right here, and there will be an interchange right where 215 comes in.
It'll be a
So if you look, this will be 215 will.
Can you
So you can
go
get off
back
215 and
up?
head southbound through that interchange, or you take the curve and go north.
Right, or you
Maybe
can
one slide up.
get off and go into North Salt Lake right there.
So here's
Great.
yeah,
I've seen a big picture before, but I forget
Yeah.
what it was.
yeah. So yep, full interchange.
That's
So I'm
nice.
okay telling
That's
you
right.
Doc,
Good idea to
that
go south.
we're comfortable moving in that direction then?
As long as we're comfortable doing the maintenance on it.
Well, whether it's this or whether it's
Which one is more?
This one will be less grass and water maintenance. It will be an increase in
keeping weeds out of the rock.
yeah, chemical maintenance as we call it, going out and spraying Roundup or ground clear in this area where all the decorative rock is.
And
You trade, there's the trade-off, you know.
Yeah.
So
And is it a good trade-off?
Why don't we just have them put in a big WX stamped concrete? There you go.
Ooh, since we don't have it on
Since
the
we don't
hill.
have it on the mountain.
Yeah.
Let's have it at our off
have
ramp.
it right there. I think we have one over by the high school right now. So
Yeah, they can just move it.
yeah. It's a trade-off, really. As far as right now, it's going to be in the decorative rock area away from the shrubs. We would do a ground clear that lasts longer than normal, so we're not out there spraying as often. Stuff closer to 2600 South would be a little bit more maintenance with weed control because there is water being introduced to keep those plants alive, and that's already something we already are maintaining.
Okay.
So the added cost will be quite a bit more chemical cost with weed control. And then down at 2600 South, it's about a wash as far as maintenance.
And for me, I think the only other option instead of the weed control would be if we had them seed natural vegetation and do what they're doing in Bountiful.
And the only way
I
to
don't
guarantee
wanna
that
speak
is
for
the artificial water in it until it's established. And some of those seeds take multiple years to germinate to be the true wild flower mix.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
My only concern is adding more weed control chemicals into our environment.
But we're putting gravel down, so.
And we're going to spray it with Roundup or
I
commercial grade Roundup, which is.
I think they are planning to put a weed barrier underneath all the decorative rock. But the hard part with that, even if you put weed barrier down, it still collects the organics
And then you just get weeds growing through the weed barrier.
Or on top
Or
of it.
above.
on top of it. Generally, it's on top of it or
Yeah.
at the edges.
Thick one down.
So I think it's not listed here and they haven't given us that spec yet on what that weed barrier would be. Typically, we'd like to do double layer weed barrier to kind of give it an added, you want
Yeah.
water to go through it when it rains,
Yes.
but you don't want the weeds to come up through. But when you get leaves and stuff collecting on top of the rock on the top, as it breaks down, it creates the.
Yes.
So if that's something they're willing to do and we need to pay to have it double, but they'll put it in double, is that something we could do?
Let us evaluate the area, the cost and things. I'll ask Mike to keep Sam involved in that and just to learn what they're going to be doing so that if there are some expenses that we want to say, hey, if we do this or contribute, and he thinks that'll help cut down on maintenance.
We have a playground in our backyard that has a really thick ground covered that it's been there for 10 years and we've had no weeds come up through it. It's just surf under the top.
And typically the weed barriers we use, we don't get from the local box stores. It's from
That disintegrate.
Yeah, that do disagree. So, is it going to prevent weeds? No,
No.
but it's going to take maintenance, and the only two ways to remove weeds is to go out and pull them or spray a chemical. And whether that's the glyphosate, which is Roundup, or whatever, there's new stuff in the pipeline that's waiting for approvals that we could consider as well. But in this area, in the wide open spaces where there are no living plants, we would consider doing a more of a what we call ground clear, something that lasts longer than what Roundup does.
Just don't want it to cost too much more to our city. Labor,
The chemical
money.
cost will go up as far as labor. That's kind of a wash at this point.
Yeah, and don't want to continue to disturb our pollinators.
Yep.
Okay. Staff reports, anything in staff reports that anybody needs more info on?
No, but Sam, the electrical box across the street from UTA has been tagged recently. Close to the pedestrian.
Right there on the corner.
Right as it's pretty bold.
I'll have them go look at that tomorrow and see if
Yeah, I was gonna take a picture, but it's not safe to mitigate a turn while you're taking a picture.
Yeah. You mean it's not safe to text and drive?
No, I know, right?
Lacey, what time do you need us here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when? Teach me the ways.
Yeah,
Doing something else. Are we talking Memorial Day?
we are.
7. I feel great about that. 6:45, if you wanna be here before the road closes. What time's the road closing? I always forget. 6, the road's closing at 6, so if you'd like to park somewhere close. 6, if you'd like to walk. 7.
Is Jim still our race guru? Yeah.
He has not relinquished his title with me, so I'm assuming so.
Jim, are you still our race guru?
Is he still on?
Is Jim still on?
Yeah, he is.
He has to find the
Unmute.
unmute.
Push the space bar.
Well, yeah, it
Designation
usually
for action.
is until you leave. Matt had to move before we let him go. Well, if he doesn't
take his
respond, that
house.
means yes.
Yeah.
He's
This is what happens when you don't come to council meeting in person.
Someone would like to take it out.
Okay, that's fair.
you found the unmute button.
Are you still able to be the race guru, Jim?
The race guru, I'd be happy to be the race guru.
Then he needs to be here at 6:30. The rest of you,
So you need to be here at 6:30 then, Jim.
7 for the rest, but if you come at 6:30, I'm sure there's something to do.
So the intersection will be closed at 6, but the west and east parking lot at the church across the street will be open and accessible during the entire event. So
Um,
I'm
is the
pretty sure somebody will let him in after 6.
Is the YCC moving and cleaning tables
Monday morning.
Monday morning?
What time?
Oh, will they be dry?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
You have rat. Maybe we'll.
So what time are they doing that?
Uh-huh.
Monday after school ends.
So the tables will be moved up from Mills and Mountain View Thursday afternoon by the public works staff, and then YCC will then distribute those after the tents are out and do the final clean. Tara is having, before we move Thursday, she's going to have one of the seasonals go through the tables and do a really thorough power wash on them before we move them.
Okay,
So it's hopefully a little bit less cleaning.
that'll be good.
Testing them and wiping them down. There's no water. So, I mean. They'll all be covered.
Okay.
Okay.
If I could also add, Curtis has been working on a booth or a space where we'll have information on the new city hall. And if you want to come and man that at different times to just answer questions and provide information, Method Studio is going to provide us with some boards that we'll have printed. They'll give us the data, and Curtis is going to have those printed so that people can see different views and things. And we'll just be trying to provide information to citizens during that time.
Where will that be staged?
Kind of close to the Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah, just west of the Buffalo.
It'll be in one of the
Tatanka
tents. Big
American Bison.
Did Hogan Construction reach out to you about Memorial Day?
No, we're arguing. Is it a buffalo or is it a bison? It's a bison.
Okay. I don't know. When I was at the league conference, their marketing guy was all excited about our Memorial Day thing and said, "Oh yeah, let's." Anyway, so I gave him your information, and
You
he said
have
he
his
was gonna
email.
reach out.
It's Aaron. Oh,
But if you didn't reach out,
His loss.
his loss.
so
Well, there's still time.
Yeah,
okay.
There's still time.
there is.
Yeah.
A big thanks to Bryce. I know in his report it talks about South Davis Metro Fire. Bryce, by default this year, gets to be the budget officer for South Davis Metro Fire and kind of the chair of the admin committee because I'm the chair of the board. So it follows along, which means Bryce has got the pleasure of working with Chief and Jessica and Hunter on working through the budget stuff, and we had all kinds of fun at our meeting last week, like we did a few meetings ago here, where he got to state what he was going to state, and then he got to state it, and then he got to state what he had stated, and then he got to state that he had stated what he had stated.
Lucky.
Pretty much.
So lucky.
So,
Are you an expert now?
I'm really sad I missed that.
anyway, thanks for your work on that, Bryce.
Were you going to mention the appointment?
Yes. When we got down to council reports, then I was.
Well, we're there.
So questions or direction to city administrator or staff? Anything?
No, Curtis, if I forward you UTA government relations Chandler's email, will you have Leah reach out about?
She has been
Because I
reaching
took
out
to
to them,
him.
but yeah, if you have a contact
I
as well.
told him in St. George that it was time to come and do
Well,
that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I also told him
The
that I
rest of
still
their,
don't like the blue.
their gravel landscape, the weeds have been much better,
Yeah, they've been taking care of that.
but the vacant lot is
Yeah, and we have a little bit of
in the
a
corner where it wraps around up by
stick there because they do have a site plan that will be
Usually it
coming
has the
through,
parking lot, and then they have the-
and we can hold that site plan until they're compliant.
Oh,
I don't know.
speaking of UDOT and UTA and the fueling trucks, the past 4 times that I have driven on Fifth South between 12:30 and 1, there have been up to 8 tankers.
Yep.
Parked on that on Fifth
Waiting
South.
to turn in.
Waiting to turn in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
The last week.
Mm-hmm.
There have
And
been
then
8.
that's, I think it was like 7 o'clock. There was
That's good to
a
know.
minimum of 5.
Yeah.
It's
So that needs to be clearly communicated that this is already a problem on Fifth South, and by pushing 8 tankers through the off-ramp area is not okay.
yeah, it's a major
It was
concern.
bad.
And I'll pull it. Drawing up, I think they had room for up to 3 tankers, 3 wide and 3 deep on the drawings, I believe. I'll pull them up and
It's
see.
feeding off of Fifth South to that area, because these are on Fifth South, blocking the lane.
Yeah, they're all stacking up on Fifth South because they can't get around by the railroad tracks and in. So this new area that's on UDOT property adjacent to your
Will have
property,
that much
it has
stacking.
3.
Yeah, it has stacking, but my point is also getting them from Fifth South
Oh,
Fifth South
well,
onto
to-
700 West.
leads to the subject of, are they going to put a traffic signal in there?
Yeah.
And we'll continue to remind them that.
And are they going to
it
change
does.
their traffic direction? Because there's not much space between I-15 and the turning onto 700 West.
Yeah, with the new intersection,
Mhm.
there's not enough
There's not much.
space
There
for.
isn't. There's currently not much space. You put 2 tankers there, and you fill up the turning lane to turn from 500 south.
Onto 700.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
seven.
you wouldn't be able to stack back that direction on Fifth South. So
Yeah.
they're going to have to get people off of Fifth South onto 7th and into their
Yeah,
queuing
into
area.
it. It's great that they
Not-
have a queuing area. Problem
getting-
is if they can't get to it.
The queuing area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll continue to remind them that we don't believe that's going to work as effective as they think it will. And
They got
we
to
stated
about
that
this.
last meeting.
They what?
For the most part.
And it was
Gonna
just
boil it
very
affected.
dismissive. I felt very.
we did ask them to, if they were intending to put the infrastructure in the ground.
No, right.
Uh-huh.
Rather than tear the whole intersection up later to put conduit and everything in, and they indicated that they were planning on having conduits and things in place so that when that had to take place, it would go quicker and not destroy an intersection, so.
Yeah, that was answered though.
They're not currently planning on purchasing the property though.
They said they are.
Our offer does not show them purchasing the property for a light.
No.
So,
Okay, well,
And Julie, if you have that contact information.
sure do. I'm
That'd be
going to
great.
send it to you right now.
Okay. Anything else for staff or Bryce?
Extend the greatest, warmest thank yous to your staff for having the grounds ready for Woods Cross Elementary's field day.
Yes.
It was amazing over there. So thank you for letting us use the property and the facilities. And the kids had a fantastic time, even without water.
Yes, they did. And we're hoping that soon we'll rotate through all of the children who had water, and then they'll never know there was water.
There was
until-
water ever existed. We'll live in a waterless.
Almost there. I think they're in third grade.
Yeah. Yes. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I will express that to the Parks Department
Yeah.
and it's very appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
And Ms. Rand, I just wanted to follow up. It was brought up at the last meeting about business licensing and, whether we're collecting taxes from various businesses. When I went back and discussed it with Bonnie and Brian, they'd already been doing those reviews, and they said their last review was a couple months ago, and they didn't find anybody that should be paying taxes that wasn't. So
Well,
they do those audits like almost on a quarterly
it's
basis.
not that they're not paying their taxes, it's that
it's not being allocated.
It's not being allocated to Woods Cross.
No, and that's what Brian does check. So they check to see which city is it allocated towards, because they go by their state, however they're registered with the state, and it'll say their code for the city. Bonnie will check that when they first come in to make sure that it's going to go to Woods Cross, and then
Okay.
Brian goes back through and does audits just to make sure, okay, here are the businesses that we have. Are we collecting the sales tax from?
Get it remitted to us through the state.
Yeah, and so he didn't find anything that was out of line.
Good.
Other
Thank
than
you.
We do know that there was one business that thought, well, they were paying their sales tax. It
It's
just
not a
wasn't
matter of
going
not paying it. It's
to the
that-
last location that the
Yeah.
business was located in, so it hadn't made that transition. So
That's what my concern is that that's 2 years of sales tax.
And I believe Brian is working with the other city to appeal that and with the business owner to get that retroactively reverted back to us, as
Good.
I understood they were going to work towards.
Okay. Council reports.
Got one.
Okay.
From Wasatch Integrated. This evening in Syracuse City's council meeting, they are considering an addendum to their zoning for high density housing that's going to require or ask that developers that come in not just provide an area for a dumpster, but also for a recycling dumpster. And that way it allows the residents that live in this higher density housing an opportunity to dispose of their recycling items in a separate dumpster from their general waste stream. So, and then Wasatch Integrated can arrange to have those picked up and put through our MRF so that we can, again, continue to
Reduce,
prevent
reuse, recycle.
stuff from going into the landfill and actually recoup and get a value. So that's something that Syracuse City is considering tonight on their agenda. And maybe we can check and see if that's something that later on we can address also.
Are they making some money on recyclables again? I know for a while the recyclables industry and value was pretty low, but
Cardboard's the hot item right now.
is it?
Yeah. Metal and particularly aluminum has always been very lucrative.
Mm-hmm.
And we've certainly got a way to separate all of those things, but cardboard's been the bigger moneymaker right now. There's a lot of it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, Amazon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zon.
That's what our recycle bins mostly full of most of the time. Yep.
And he said it was Kaysville that was doing it? Syracuse.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, got that from their mayor, Dave Mon. He mentioned that was on their agenda tonight.
Okay. I can give an update on the fire district. We had our board meeting last night. We did officially appoint a new fire chief last night. It is our current interim chief and has been the deputy chief for the last several years. His name's Jeff Larson. He's going to be great. He, since Chief Stewart's passing, has been the interim chief and has really stepped up and made a great effort to continue to guide the district and continue the momentum that we've got. So we're, as a board, we're excited as we went into kind of our findings from all of the reporting that Mayor Bradshaw and I did. We ended up interviewing about 30 different people, internal and external, former chiefs, current chiefs, staff, to just try to glean as much information as we could to things that may have contributed to his passing, organizational things that might be able to be tweaked to improve things. So with that, we came back last month and reported to the board in a closed session on what our findings were from that. And we then recommended some different options for recruiting and hiring a new chief. And one of those was promoting Chief Larson to be the new chief. That received unanimous support. And so we've negotiated over the last month just on a contract and wanted to make sure that he was willing and excited to do that. So then one of the other things that we did is we are going to and have worked on a consultant agreement with an individual to help, just because we know that there's things that Chief Larson isn't going to know, just because he hasn't been exposed to them in his role as the deputy chief. So we'll have that in place for a period of months at least to just be there as a resource. The other thing that came out of our report is that we needed to implement and reinstate a second deputy chief. So there will be the chief and then two deputy chiefs, one over operations and one over administration. Operations being all of the fire operations, firefighting, EMS, all of that. Admin will be over other things. So he will, he'll hire two deputy chiefs, whether that's from within or external. We're leaving that up to him to choose who he thinks is best for those deputy chief positions. One of them is already in the budget and the other is in the proposed budget. And in order to hire the second deputy chief, that's a budget increase, which would then, so we are going to go through truth and taxation for the district to fund that second deputy chief position. If we don't get it funded through truth and taxation, the board still, I think, feels like it's an important position. And so I think we would go ahead and do it out of fund balance for a period of time until we're able to increase the revenue to help cover it. I can't see that for sure, but that's just, I think the discussion that we have had is that we feel it's needed to be able to spread out the workload among three instead of just two. So we're excited there. He's excited to step into it. He's been with the district a long time, has good support. So you'll probably see some stuff on social media over the next few days and weeks announcing his hire. And as we do other promotions or hires, I think those will probably be on social media too, and I'll report them as we come back here.
Will he be here Monday?
I believe he will be here on Monday. Yeah, he's been here each of the last several years in his deputy chief role to be here for our Memorial Day. It's on the calendar as a standing event for them. They love our Memorial Day celebration so much that when Bountiful Memorial Park reaches out and says, "Hey, we'd really like your apparatus up here with the big flag," and he says, "Yeah, that's fine as long as it doesn't conflict with Woods Cross's Memorial Day." So they leave from here and go up there, but they'll plan on being here. So,
Well, good. We can meet him Monday.
let's see, sewer district, their longtime accounting manager retired today. He's had some health problems and probably wasn't his preferred timeline, but because of health issues, he just felt like was difficult for him. So he has retired, and they had a little get together today to just kind of wish him well. So
Has that role been filled?
the plan is to fill it internally. They've hired an assistant that has been there for several years now, learning the ropes and to be ready to take over. So I think that's most of my information. I have sewer district board on Thursday for more stuff, and rec district, I don't know if there's really anything substantial there to report. So anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Then I am ready for a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that movement.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to vote, even though it doesn't,
You should.
none of us really need to.